Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei and others lost a war with Rizevim Lucifer and went back in time part 3. Before we start, please go support RichTales for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Chapter 6. Unexpected offer. Beep beep, come on, it's already dawn. Beep beep, wake up quickly. Beep beep, hey, where? New day, same routine, and I don't get tired, waking up in a real bed and not one made of rubble. Or bodies. Yesterday was a very normal day. Of course, if we take away the fact that with the help of Drag, I discovered the roast chicken spying on the Gremory nobility since time immemorial. Let's skip the part where I get ready and go to the main topic. I was walking down the hallway towards my classroom, and upon arriving, the first person I meet is none other than Kiryu. As always, bothering Mitsuda and Motohama. Good morning guys, I greet my colleagues as always, sitting in my seat. Oh, Hyōdō-san, what's so good about Hyōdō? Mitsuda responds in a bad mood. Surely Aika has something to do with it. Now what did you provoke them with, Kiryu? Everyone in the class knows that this girl loves to annoy this pair. And it doesn't mean that I don't do the same sometimes. Did you remind them that they will never have a girlfriend? Hyōdō. Motohama answers me angrily, gaining the attention of half the world and crying his eyes out. I touched a sensitive chord. Now, I'm sorry, someone will come who loves you as you are. I try to encourage my old friends. But I didn't take anyone else into account. Or they will end up alone for the rest of their lives. Kiryu delivers the final blow with the two of them shouting into the air. Damn, and to think that I thought that before too anyway. Did you hear the rumors? What do you mean? I say, intrigued. Don't tell me what I think it is. A new student, she will go in our group. Mitsuda completely forgets his depression and says that almost ecstatic. Wait, what? If my memory serves me correctly, it was a few days until Asia entered the academy, but this it wasn't even 2 times. I see that Rias didn't take long to take action on the matter. Some say she's also a foreigner. I hope she has big breasts and also a huge butt. The perverted duo begins to fantasize what the new girl would be like, earning the distraught faces of everyone except mine and Aika, with whom I exchanged glances and we laughed. They could have continued with their wet dreams had it not been for the arrival of the teacher. Very well class, as you know, a new student joins us. Okay. Moment of truth, you can come in. From the entrance, a beautiful young blonde in the academy uniform approaches the front of the room and bows in greeting. My name is Asia Argento. There are still many things about her country that elude me, so I apologize in advance. It is no coincidence that she is in the same group as me. As she imagined, a bustle filled the entire room, both men and women, when she saw her and heard her majestic voice, and I think the same, continuing like this until the teacher asked for order. As if it were no surprise, the entire female audience surrounded Asia and bombarded her with questions of all kinds, from her life in her native country, and even where she lived. She originally decided to live with me. I will ask her about that another day. On the men's side, the excitement of having the opportunity to live with a foreign beauty was general. Although two thought different things from the rest. The beautiful blonde, bust. 82, waist. 50, hips. 82 super. Mitsuda openly states the obvious, while Motohama didn't take a moment to get the measure of her. That ability continues and will continue to baffle me for the rest of my life. As for me, I only watched Asia smiling, and for good reason. I felt worried at the beginning, fearing that she would feel overwhelmed and even intimidated. Luckily my fears dissolved when I saw how she had pleasant conversations with the others. Suddenly I see as she separates from the group of girls and heads towards my direction. Issei-san, it's very nice to see you. Okay, you just greeted me with all the normality in the world, and now I am the center of attention, and it took my classmates a long time to come to a conclusion. Argento-san, did you already know Hyōdō-kun? Murayama's good deduction made Asia nod very happily. I feel the penetrating eyes of half the world on me. Of course, he was very kind and helped me orient myself when I arrived here. Asia's honesty and good faith has somehow never bothered me. In fact, I'm fine knowing that it's still that way. Isn't that right, Issei-san? Even if this puts me in the sights of some guys. Why, you're right, Asia. I was nervous and I just laughed, but I also realized that I called Asia without an honorific, implying that we are close in some way. So Asia, eh? Now it's Caddis who was whispering, believing that he wouldn't hear her, and a dark aura forming around her and some more. I better not get the wrong ideas. Excuse me, Motohama, at your service. As if he were a soldier, Motohama strives to make a good impression. As I explained to him that is already very difficult at this point. Oh, Motohama-san, do you know if this seat is occupied? Asia points to the seat behind me. I could hear something break inside him. Why and no, despite having wanted to say yes, it is impossible to lie to Asia's innocent face without feeling bad. That's great, Issei-san. Don't you mind if I sit here? She asks me timidly, to which I only nod my head. And as if the atmosphere wasn't the most tense, Kiryu approaches me with bad intentions reflected in his eyes. Hey Hyōdō-san, how does it feel to have such a close friendship with a foreign girl? In short, I wanted to run away from there, since everyone was waiting for me to answer something. He planned to do what I do best. Ignore me. And I say planned because Asia beat me to it. He's very good, he promised me that we would have tea someday. Damn. I'm wishing I could get away from here. I sensed the murderous instincts of the majority. I felt that they were guided by anger and a little bit of jealousy. Then they continue talking. Let's start with today's lesson. Luckily the teacher on duty preferred to start classes before he was lynched by the others. Argento-san, any questions you have, just raise your hand, right? Alright. Yes, Asia is motivated today, I'm glad for that. The rest of the school day passed without any surprises. Maybe I received a few paper airplanes with death threats or very mild insults, other than that, everything was fine. It was already afternoon and I was walking next to Asia, who was waiting for me outside in the corridor, perhaps to talk to me about something, either about school things or about Kuo. I was expecting either of those two options, except what told me. Issei-san, would you accompany me to the old building? How? Another surprise. Now what the hell did I do? Wait, you joined the occult club. Ahem, geez, I think I'm being too abrupt with Asia for my questions. And maybe because I cornered her against the wall in the process. I am sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I separated in a quick movement and waved my hands in apology. Then don't worry, Issei-san, I know this is strange, but she has an explanation. She's having a hard time talking to me, but you can tell that she's trying to do it well. It's just that but you-san wants to tell you something important. You mean Rai? Ahem, Gremory-senpai, right. I almost called her by her name. Good thing I realized it just in time. Did she tell you what it was? And no, she says it's something confidential. Wow, Rias, giving this whole matter a mysterious touch. Well, I don't have anything to do so. I'll follow you. Gee, good, and we set off for the ruined school building. I'll take this opportunity to do something. There's one thing I would like to propose to you, Asia. Really? She said confused. World, wish me luck. What do you think if one of these days, instead of having tea, I take you to see more of the area? What do you say? There was silence for a few seconds that felt like hours. I was regretting what I said until I see how Asia has a warm smile on her face. I would love to. It makes me laugh to think that I wouldn't have done something as daring as this before, much less would I believe that they would say yes to me the first time. Anyway, it's something I owe to Asia. I'm glad. Are you free this Saturday afternoon? Yes, I will look forward to that day. Inside I was jumping with excitement for her acceptance until Drake speaks to me through my mind. Partner, you're not trying to make her fall in love again, are you? Damn, it's true, I don't want to involve Asia and the others so much with me or they'll be in danger. No brother, I do and will do these things for them so that they feel comfortable and overcome their fears. Years ago they helped me with my doubts and fears, I will forever owe them. Okay, but what will you do if they start to have feelings for you? I do not think they do. How are you so sure? Because I will not support them as Issei, but as the Sekiryuutei. You're talking like a superhero, you know. I already told you, I'm not a hero, but getting back to the main topic, I don't think they're going to fall in love with someone whose face they won't even see. Are you seriously planning to keep your identity a secret from everyone? It's the only way I know, Drake. Unlike a hero, I get closer to a kind of vigilante. I'll be calm about that, just don't do something stupid. The little talk with Drake has been interesting. The only thing I will do as Issei will be acts of kindness, nothing more. When I return to the present, Asia and I are in front of the old structure when the door opens, revealing none other than Kiba. Kiba, how unusual to see you here so late. Didn't the clubs end earlier? Hello Ice-kun, we will explain everything to you, but just give us time. Shall we explain? Hey, you talk like you belong to a secret cult. That was the worst choice of words, since technically Kiba is a demon and well. You know the rest. I'm sorry, I was joking, it's not like it's a bad thing, and… Haha, don't worry Ice-kun, it's better to come on. It's good that I don't take it personally. I must improve my social skills. The three of us went inside the place and it was still just as I remembered. The old and discolored wood, the squeaky floors throughout, and even the gloomy atmosphere that dominates the room. A good facade without a doubt to keep away the curious. We went up the stairs and suddenly I had a chill as I passed near another hallway. Gasper's room was in that direction, his power still makes me alert to this day. I continued exploring the place with my eyes until they both stopped in front of some rather ostentatious wooden doors. Then Kiba knocks on the door 3 times and a female voice is heard coming from inside. Though no matter how hard he tried, I never managed to forget that voice. A few seconds later Kiba opens the door revealing the occult club room. I already knew this room from head to toe, but since it's technically my first time here, I pretended to be amazed by the decoration, furniture and lighting. I feel like I'm in a one-bedroom mansion, the desk, the coffee table, the shelves, the armchairs, just as he remembered. But in the latter there were two people. In the one on the left, Kaneko-chan was sitting eating a sandwich until she turned towards our direction, and then she saw me. As always, her expression was the same as always, but with a tiny smile that I could barely make out. Who knows why. The one on the right side was occupied by Rias Gremory herself, the most popular girl in school. My lover and partner at one time, she was just calmly reading some documents from a folder with a Gremory seal. Right. Should you be worried that he knows about the supernatural? But you-san, I brought him with me as she requested. Questions arose one after another as Asia spoke to Rias. Thank you Asia, Hyōdō, you can rest. The two obey and go to sit on the armchairs, leaving me standing in front of them. Then Rias leaves the papers aside and addresses me. Hello Hyōdō-kun, it's a pleasure that you have come. That's sure Gremory-senpai, but I must ask, why did she invite me? That's why I like it. We have a guest. When Rias was going to answer me, she is interrupted by Akeno who came out of the side doors with a tray carrying a teapot and several cups. She leaves the tray on the coffee table and proceeds to approach me. As always, with her breasts moving with every step. Damn it, look away. Oh, Hyōdō-kun, it's good to see you. The taste is mine Himejima-senpai, she answered in a soldier's pose and keeping my lust at bay to avoid seeing her as retarded. I'm still surprised to see her here at this time. Enjoy your stay here. Ahem. As I was saying. Rias clears her throat to return my attention to what she was going to tell me. I better get more serious. For that, I would like you to take a seat, she says, pointing to the opposite chair. And I quickly went to him, ending up between Kaneko-chan and Kiba. Seconds after having sat down, Akeno offers me something to drink. I deduce that this is going to be a long time, so I move my head up and down. That and also because I missed his tea. Thank you very much. I appreciate the gesture, and he does the same with the others, and when he finishes, he stands behind Rias. Now, what I came for. Well, what's happening? I see that you are one of those who does not beat around the bush. I'm sorry if it was rude of me. I hid my sadness by sipping from the cup. But I see how she lightens her expression. Don't worry, I like that attitude, so I'll get straight to the point. Let's see what you have in mind, my dear Rias. Do you believe in the supernatural? Cough. Excuse me. I almost choked on my drink after hearing that. Didn't my hearing fail me? He asked me if I believed in the supernatural. Yes, mate, I heard it right too. Even Drake stepped out of the frame and confirmed my theory. Which is supposed to answer, let the brat talk, and then we'll think of something. Okay, first I will listen to what Rias is up to, and then I make my next move. Excuse me, but why the question? I want to know your position. Yes, of course. I'm going to tell him what I believe before being a demon, and I'll see what happens. Well, not much, I have read some epic stories. Well. That word was enough and she took a sip from her cup. That's all she'll say. No, there's more. What would you think if I told you that all of that was real? I would be very shocked. I still don't understand well, but I will play along until he tells me what he wants. But could you be clearer? A story told in the Bible, mythologies from other lands. The existence of angels, demons, gods and legendary creatures. Why should I believe you? I remain skeptical, waiting for him to continue. If he takes out his wings and tells me he's a demon, I'll jump out the window. I'd better not make that kind of bet. Because I am a demon, Rias confesses to me as a pair of thin black wings sprout from his back. My god, now I look like a prophet. Wow, I didn't expect that. My nervous speech convinced the others. Let's see what happens if I say the following, and I have to believe that. Why you are too, no. How smart you are. Hyōdō-kun. Akeno is the one who speaks, and she along with Kiba, Asia and Kaneko-chan also show her pair of wings now. What do you think of us? Aren't you afraid of us? Because I should have, they just took me by surprise. As long as they are still the people I know, I don't care if they are demons. I didn't pay attention to them, and then I left my cup on the table and asked the question I wanted to ask. Because on the other hand, why are they telling me all this? Let us explain it to you. Rias starts her dialogue. Here we go again. First she confesses to me the true purpose of the CIO. To act as a smokescreen. Then I spent about 10 minutes listening to the entire story of the biblical factions again. The first angels and demons, the fall of some servants of heaven, resulting in the beginnings of the faction of fallen angels, the constant conflict between the three sides, the great war that was consummated when none of the factions could continue the fight by losing several of their main leaders, the artifacts created by God for humans. The sacred gears, what they do today to not reduce their numbers even further, and finally about the different demonic clans, rulers and social structure. Have you understood everything? Rias makes sure I haven't missed something. For the most part, I have some doubts, but they aren't that many. I already have an idea of what she could be planning, so let's see what happens. Like the demonic system they were talking about, the evil pieces, right? Indeed, she asks whatever you want. Do you want to reincarnate me as a demon? Basically, you would join my peerage as my faithful servant, you would have unique abilities, these wings, and the possibility of rising in the society of the underworld. Haha. Try to convince me with the benefits of being a demon, this is what they call the whisper of the devil, but I can only do it if you agree. So that was it, he wants to make me part of his entourage. I don't know if this was his original plan if it wasn't for the fact that I was killed by Rainer, maybe he thinks I have a dormant sacred gear, or he sensed my level of magic and called his attention. No matter what the reason, it is impossible for me to become one. I'll be brief, the last time I measured my power, which was 2 weeks ago, it already exceeded the capacity of 5 pieces of mutated queens. I know, that's how monstrous the amount of magic that flows through me is. First I want to know, why? Amano Ikma, do you remember her? I see where this is going. Yes, a girl I met a few days ago to give more authenticity to my way of talking. I scratched my head and continued, we had a date, and when everyone took different paths, I never saw her again. Well, she was a fallen angel. The moment Rias spoke, I opened my eyes wider, meaning that I didn't know. Let's be clear that all this is an act. Surely with a mission to assassinate you, but we haven't had a sighting of Fallen for a long time. Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I must reject her proposal. Grimmery Senpai, I didn't think that my answer would leave everyone speechless. It seems that they didn't expect that, guys. Senpai. Not okay, I won't force you to do anything, but I would like you to tell me, why not? I noticed sadness and disappointment in Ria's voice, also the sad expressions in the others. Anyway, I must stay firm above all. Don't misunderstand me, it's just that I don't want to involve my family or acquaintances. Besides, if they say that they have never had encounters with fallen angels again, the better, right? I understand, that was all. Oh really? Just like that? I was already standing towards the exit when I heard Rias again. Sure, you can go. The moment she finished speaking, her eyes glowed slightly red, at the same time I felt a terrible headache and I held my forehead. Apparently that intrigued my companions. Are you okay? Yes, it's just that she suddenly had a headache. This feeling is familiar to me. Out of pure curiosity, do you remember what we talked about a few minutes ago? Wait. Don't tell me I'm trying to erase my memory. Yes, about the biblical factions and so on. Okay. I want you to listen to me and please don't be upset, but I tried to modify your memories that confirms my suspicions, so I will put another plan in motion. I think it was inevitable for me not to relate to the supernatural of one way or another. Don't worry, he did it for safety. I think he smiled, understanding Ria's intentions. He doesn't want to risk someone exposing his race. Why yes, but this shows that you have a high level of magic. Not everyone can withstand mental manipulation. Adopting a more determined tone, Rias approaches me and tries to persuade me again. I admire her perseverance. You would have a future promising as hell. Interesting, but I must say no again. I know that she will not be calm, fearing that she will reveal her family for a mistake, so I better propose something to her. She thinks that I want something in exchange for not revealing her true identity, but I'm not that kind of person. I'll keep it a secret, I promise. I raised my hand in a sign of oath and then recited the following. I'll stick to my decision of not being a demon, but I could formally join the club and help them with things related to the underworld or something like that, at least as a compensation. I don't know if what I did was good, because everyone, especially Rias, looked at me very surprised. Then she lets out a small laugh. But you would have to study the history and language of demons. I learned quickly it's not for nothing that I have a good GPA. Important figures of demonic society could visit us. I know how to behave. Thanks for mandatory etiquette classes with Venelana-san. Over time, I will have more servants under my command. I'm friendly. I think. If you then welcome to the Occult Research Club, Hyōdō-kun. It's a pleasure. But I remember how long it took me to stop calling her that. Well, she's going to get used to it. Welcome Issei-san. It's good to have you with us Ice-kun. Thank you for staying, I-senpai. I have a new cowhide. Asia, Kiba, Kaneko-chan and Akeno welcomed me to the club with open arms. Shortly after, I stayed and continued chatting about other details, such as Asia's transition from nun to demon. Rias also gave me material with the main part of the demonic language, and I bet with her that I could learn all that in one night, but without any punishment involved, just for fun. I already have this one. I saw the time and it was already getting dark. I asked them if anyone else was leaving, but they explained to me that they still have things to do like demons from the Grimmery clan, contracts, training and maybe some last-minute raids. I understood and said goodbye to them. Time to dust off my demonic knowledge. Several days later. The afternoons of the last few days I spent at the CIO headquarters, reviewing stacks of documents from both the school and the underworld. As someone would imagine, I won the bet with Rias, and everything would have ended there, but she insisted and gave me one of her magical pamphlets to summon her personally, and she will fulfill any wish I ask for. If the me from before had this opportunity, I would have spent trying to touch it, but I'd better keep it as a souvenir. The day is Saturday afternoon and yes, right now I'm eating a hamburger with Asia at the fast food stand downtown, and just like the first time, she seemed conflicted about what she should do to eat hers, the most probably because there is no fork and knife. She was wearing her nun outfit, maybe because it's her favorite outfit and what I wore when I ran into her at that playground by chance the first time. A pink sweatshirt, unbuttoned yellow shirt, and pants. Blues. Asia. Why yes, she's very cute when she gets nervous. Look, this is the correct way to eat it. As soon as I finished speaking, I took a big bite of my burger without remorse. Don't judge me, I'm hungry. I had no idea there was a way to eat like that. I'm impressed. Her surprise is genuine seeing me eat that way. Immediately afterwards, she takes it and takes a small but noticeable bite. Delicious. You like me a lot, don't you? A shy nod of the head from her was all I received in response. Then I saw that she was carrying a bag. What's in there? Oh, they are flyers that Butchu-san has asked me to distribute. I remember that time, giving those leaflets to the people who pass by here every day. Some more extravagant than others. It's my first step to being a good demon. It's good that you're making an effort. I'm sure you'll do well. Thank you, Issei-san. Moments later she closes her eyes and joins her hands, as if she were going to pray. Lord, I ask you to guide me on my path to be a good servant of Lucifer. Oh, don't tell me, headache. I had forgotten how everything related to the church or other religious groups affected the demons, giving them a headache that I don't even want to repeat. They hurt as much as a sword of light. Asia, you know it's not a very good idea to do that. I am sorry, I just can't abandon my faith. If Asia had become an angel, she would be one of the best in the seven heavens. But hey, it's just speculation. Don't worry, I'm sure everything will get better. We continued eating lunch and talking until we were both finished, then I mustered up as much courage as possible and offered to spend time at the arcade, to which she agreed without any complaints. Since the time I went to this same place on vacation, the little children who saw me that time now consider me some kind of saint because the prizes I won from the claw machines I gave to those I was around and those who are my age as a rival to overcome after breaking records in each game. Will the owners pray behind my back so that I don't leave them bankrupt? Fortunately, Asia showed no signs of discomfort with this whole show and we had a good time, the car races, the dance floor and even the photo booth. Finally, we passed by the block of claw machines and as she remembered, Rachu, the protagonist of an anime that shows on TV in the morning, gained Asia's attention. Without hesitation, I put a coin in this one and took one of the yellow mice on the first try. For you, I took the animal out of there and moments later I gave it to Asia. Thank you very much. I can't describe the joy on his face and the way he hugs the stuffed animal. This Rachu will always remind me of my friendship with you, which by the way, I hope it lasts, was the best phrase I could think of. She smiles a lot more afterwards. We continued walking and she took the opportunity to distribute flyers around the arcade until it got dark. I bought her an ice cream from the cart we found by chance. Seeing Asia eating an ice cream was the cutest thing I had seen all day. Along the way, I gave her a quick tour of Kuo on my bicycle, showing her the most important things and some places that might possibly be of interest to her. Then we noticed how the moon was rising in the sky, so I offered to take her to the apartment block she told me about and she accepted. I didn't worry because I discovered that that building was one under the influence of demons. She was on the back seat of my bicycle and then I started a conversation to make the ride more relaxed. You must be tired. I made her walk around a lot. If she had let her walk home in that state, she would surely top a list of the worst living beings that walk on this earth. No, not at all, I really enjoyed your company today. Has no one bothered you at school? During the day I thought not to ask anything related to the academy. But curiosity got the better of me. Everyone in the class is very kind to me. She has never had a hard time getting along with other people. Sometimes I worry too much. Mitsuda-san and Motohoma-san, your friends, are very good too. Did they do something with you? I've already said it 100 times, I'm fond of that pair. But I'll throw a washing machine at each of their heads if they get too far with Asia. Nor, in fact, they invited me to the gentleman's function of some kind. Next time I see them I'll hit them. Ah, just ignore them. They made me the same offer months ago. I'm glad I rejected it. We're about to get there. Yeah. Suddenly, a rock crossed my bike and made it slightly destabilize and luckily we didn't fall. But Asia's right arm was holding her abdomen tightly. Excuse me, is everything okay back there? I turned to look at her and make sure she didn't get hurt. And in the process to try to distract myself from grabbing her. Why yes, nothing happened to me. Her expression relaxed and I put my eyes back on the road. I curse you, little stone. She didn't change her position the rest of the way, which was a kind of mental torture for me. Good thing it wasn't much longer or else my brain would have melted. I said goodbye to her and when I saw how she entered her apartment, that was when I left the place. I will go to train in the dimensional gap for 2 reasons. The first, to calm down, and the second, to prepare for what is coming. Razor Phoenix. Chapter 7. Working with demons. Good morning, Kiba. Hello, Ice-kun. So, what did you want to talk about? But you will tell you in a moment, they are inside changing. Since I spend my afternoons and free days with Rias and his peerage, things have been going more or less well. I've helped them with more stacks of papers from school and the underworld, plus Rias takes every opportunity he gets to persuade me to become a demon. It's not that I'm complaining, it's just funny what he'll do to convince me. I remember one day asking her for a pen, and seconds later she turned that small request into another offer from her to join her entourage. That's how persistent and unpredictable she is. As for the males in my class, they hate me more than before because the rumor that I had joined the occult club spread like wildfire, since according to them only those with a notable reputation are there. I don't know what makes me popular, but I'm sure it's not because I'm perverted. Then I'll find out that. Meanwhile, it's another weekend morning and I received a message from Kiba, which said that he wanted me to go to the CIO headquarters for some particular reason, wearing comfortable clothes and bringing a backpack with items that I would use on a trip. He was wearing a white t-shirt and blue shorts since it's hot, along with a small black backpack with what I took from home. I think I can deduce what we will do. In my past as a demon, we had a brief vacation on a remote island. It didn't end very well for me because of a mistake, Kaneko-chan hit me on the head with a baseball bat. You can come in now, I heard Ria's voice from the other side of the door, and as I imagined, they were wearing their swimsuits under other clothes. I don't remember which was more erotic, Ria's or Akeno's. Oh, you're here Ice, that's right, last week he asked me if he could call me by my name. It's not like that bothers me much. Good morning but you, why did he ask me to come? Acting like I don't know is going to be very common from now on. Today, the CIO is going on vacation to the beach and we want to invite you for the help you have given us. It no longer surprises me that I can guess almost everything that is going to happen. Haha, I appreciate the invitation, but why did you change here? It's because we will use a teleportation circle to go there. I see. I have another question, aren't I supposed to be part of your nobility to be able to jump in their magic circles? Don't worry about that, Ice-kun. Like Rias, Akeno also chose to call me by my first name. Then she takes out a booklet with a magic circle drawn on it. You will use this and you can travel to the same place that we. I understand then. Although it would be faster if you joined me, Rias blurts out suddenly and I just sigh. It's the 10th time this week that he's done the same thing. Nice try, but my answer is still no. I had to try and it will be like that for a long time. Akeno put the paper near me, recited the corresponding spell for the transfer, and in seconds I was enveloped in a crimson flash, and when I rejoined, I appeared on the island. I see that I arrived first. Next to me, a similar glow appeared, and when it finally faded, I saw the others carrying several suitcases. Originally, I was the one who carried them all as punishment for being a voyeur. From which I was saved. This place is nice, isn't it? The sun is so bright, let's all enjoy it to the fullest. Akeno, Asia and Rias talk to each other, sharing their opinions of the place, then they take off the clothes that covered their bikinis, except for Kaneko-chan, who was wearing a full-body swimsuit, and they went to cool off in the sea. I ended up seeing them briefly. Seconds, even though I tried hard not to look at them like a depraved person. Meanwhile, he helped Kiba place the towel and umbrella on the sand. When we finish, I sit on the floor and Kiba does the same next to me. I have sunscreen, do you want? When he was a demon, I had to put on sunscreen or else I had a bad time. Yes, please. He also smeared every corner of his body with the sunscreen. When he finished, he looked like a snowman because of how white he was. Thank you very much. It doesn't matter. Will you go swimming? In a moment, let me look at the view for a while. Have you never known the sea? More or less, except that. I haven't seen him in a long time. I stopped and took a few steps to get a few meters away from my friends. At that point I pointed to a bucket and a toy shovel that I saw. This is from Kaneko-chan, right? Yes, why? Tell him I borrowed it. Without further ado, I took what I saw and left. Kiba nodded knowingly and I sank back into my thoughts. I can't remember the last time I saw water where there was supposed to be, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know for sure, but that, combined with the hot sand that I could feel between my fingers of my feet, the cool breeze that hit my face and the radiant sun that bathed my skin, is from a present that I thought I had forgotten. I am happy that it is not like that. What's more, I will take this opportunity to make this trip memorable in a good way. I approached the sand wet by the sea and filled the bucket with it, then in a place far from the waves, I began to dig with the shovel a shallow hole, and finally I poured the wet sand I took into it. I did the same process for a few minutes until I formed what I had in mind. A simple sand castle. I stood up and went to look for some more things. Some small branches that fell from some trees, seashells that I found along the way, and I filled the bucket, but this time with water. When I returned, I continued with my structure. I decorated the walls of the castle with the shells I took. I placed the twigs at the top of each mound, as if they were a flagpole, and with a shovel I made a trench that surrounded the entire castle, and then put the water in it. Now it looks more elaborate. I was happily admiring my work when suddenly I heard some comments behind me. This sand castle is very cute. Ice-kun on my left side, Akeno crouches down to better see what I did. Don't look at his breast so much, idiot. Good job, senpai, Kaneko-chan told me, keeping his serious face, but with his thumb up, approving my creation. It's good that he didn't get angry with me for taking his things. Wow, your castle is impressive. Ice-kun now Kiba also joined the club of praising me unnecessarily. Issei-san, your castle is very beautiful, but Asia was the one who was most amazed because she had stars in her eyes. It's not that big of a deal, it's just a castle. That's enough guys, you'll make me blush. I didn't expect you to compliment my work. But I admit it feels good. It's the first time I've done one. When that period of grief ended, I took off my shirt and went to swim in the sea for a while in the company of Kiba. We competed in a swimming race, which he won by a landslide. After all, he is very fast, then to see who could hold their breath the longest underwater, with me being the winner. Advantages of having dragon lungs, I guess. We continued doing those kinds of competitions until we both fell exhausted in the wet sand, so we went to the shore to rest near where Asia and Kaneko-chan were taking a nap, and when I thought nothing else could happen today, it happens the next. Ice, can you put some suntan lotion on me? Rias asks me to help her put suntan lotion on her. Of all people, because I'm not complaining, but really. But still, I preferred to see the positive side of the situation and accepted, taking the container of cream. Make sure you don't leave any part uncovered. She lay on her stomach waiting for me to do my part. This can end very well or very badly. Of course, I will do my best this time. I had no daydreams and focused on not squeezing the bottle too much. When the contents of the container finally came out, I spread it on my hands, and when it was ready, I applied it to Ria's back. I was able to stay in harmony the entire time. I put Tanner on from her shoulder blades to her high hips without a problem. Because the real thing came later. Also my legs and arms, please. Rias spoke very relaxed. I can't interrupt her brief period of tranquility because of a slip of mine. Okay, fortunately, she can keep a calm face, despite being a mess inside. If I don't want to water her, I have to distract myself. I'll count from 1 to 100, 1 2 3 4. I continued putting cream on Ria's limbs while I was going for 84, and Drake's laughter didn't help me at all. I don't understand why I get nervous. I mean, I've touched his body thousands of times before. Or maybe because I'm afraid of getting a second bump on my head from a metal bat. For some it was 5 minutes, but for me it felt like 5 hours. The moment I finished, I looked out to see Ria's expression, and to my surprise, she was fast asleep. I got the good ending. I sighed in relief, believing that everything would end there. How wrong I was. Ice-kun Akeno appears behind me and whispers in my ear, exalting me. What's happening? Since you're done with Rias, can you help me with the suntan lotion too? That was the most sensible thing I could say. If I manage to do this once, I can do it again. Oh okay, I'll wait for you. She went to her side. On mine, there was a super developed lizard laughing at me. Ahahaha, you have defeated extremely powerful beings, but you can't deal with a female that asks you for help. Hahaha, you are pathetic. The dragon was laughing his heart out. But what I hate most is that he is right. Yes, he goes back to sleep. Akeno also lay on her stomach and unclasped her bra so that his back was completely exposed. Here we go. I performed the same steps on her as with Rias, giving her a discreet massage, and when I finished, she also fell asleep. She looked around me, and I was the only one awake because Kiba was also taking a break, and even Drake paid attention to me. I could hear her snoring in high definition. I wish the atmosphere were this calm more often, I said to myself, going to sit near where the waves barely reached. I ran my hand through the wet sand and found a small clam. There is a possibility that there is a pearl inside, but I decided to send it back to the sea. It's just a grain of sand covered with a mollusk slime. I spent another hour watching the horizon until the others little by little woke up and we continued having fun, like with the game of splitting the watermelon or sukawari, but this time Kaneko-chan now had a blindfold on and my head wasn't a possible target. Anyway, he smashed the fruit into pulp with a single hit. A while later it was time to leave. Everyone took their things, and Akeno took out another engraved pamphlet just like the previous one, and a magic circle was formed in feet. But first I turned in the direction where I made the sand castle, which to my disbelief was stood and just smiled. Little memories like this will be what I treasure most for the rest of my life. Back at school, it was break and I had lunch in the company of Kiba and Asia sitting under the trees near the old building, with whom I talked about topics related to the club. Since I spend my afternoons at the CIO, I have had the opportunity to become closer with all of them, and the proof is that Rias and Akeno would like to call me in a more informal way. On the other hand, there is not much to do in the club because as Rias said, it is only a facade of what they really do. For me this is more of a hobby than a job. There are one or another important document, but nothing beyond that. What caught me by surprise was that Rias seemed more and more distant and distracted, even she just stared into nothingness for several minutes. Something is troubling her, and I'm sure I know the answer to that. Eyes, how do you make your contracts? I asked Kiba that question while taking a shrimp from my bento. I brought that matter up to talk about demonic works with all the confidence in the world without raising suspicions. You see, when you have a wish, you can summon a demon through one of these pamphlets to fulfill it for his part. He takes out one of the Grimoire family pamphlets from his pocket to make his explanation more understandable. Both Asia and we were attentive. The payment for that wish or favor is something valuable. My soul, for example. A joke a day doesn't hurt. He just laughs. What a joker you are, ice kun, but that is also an option. Good, because it's the only thing I can offer. The laughter continued, and even Asia, but to a lesser extent. Now I have another doubt in you, Asia. Could I summon you with one of those? If you wish, Issei-san. Asia takes some of her meat and eats it. As the days passed, she spoke with more confidence, and that is very good. After that her face turns red. Although I only started yesterday. Really? Rias was more sensible and waited until she was ready. Or maybe I had something to do with it. That's right, Asia-san already made his debut as a demon of the Grimoire clan, Kiba says calmly, eating his onigiri. It's incredible, Asia. What did you do for your first contract? My intrigue was obvious. I hope he didn't get an extravagant client. My client's name is Miltan. He wanted me to turn him into a Mahou Shoujo. Asia recounts her very relaxed experience. She forgot. Everyone who summons a demon is a weirdo. I explained to her that it wasn't possible, so instead, I convinced her to watch a series about them. Asia, out of pure curiosity. I will regret asking this question another day. Did you see Mahou Shoujo Spiral Ninki Ultra 7? I think so. Have you seen it, Issei-san? Sadly. Yes, in my past. They showed a special of that series on TV and well. That's all. I was just scratching the back of my head because of how embarrassing that was. Kiba looked complicated, and then I tried to justify myself. Believe me, brother, when you finish the first episode, you can't stop anymore. The bell rang, ending lunch, and we went to class, which was as boring as it had always been. Now we were in sports class, and just like in normal classes. The typical thing happened during stretching. Listen, if you focus all your energy on your eyes, your PE pants will turn into panties. I can see it, Motohoma, I can see it. Some of my classmates have reproached me for why I don't say anything to Mitsuda and Motohoma when they do perverted things. It's because I sometimes do the same thing, but being more discreet. The dark blue underwear, somehow they turn white. Hey, come on, we have to warm up. Forget the Hyōdō training, better join us in our goal of seeing Asia-chan's underwear. Without making the slightest effort, that comment from Motohoma was enough, and I hit each of them on the head. No one will do anything to him, lascivious, as long as I live. Ouch, idiot, that hurts. So you want another one like last week? I threatened to give them the same one when they invited Asia to her porn marathon. I always keep my promises. Sorry, we're sorry, Hyōdō-sama, Mitsuda begs, kneeling together with Motohoma. How easy it is to defeat these two. After that small intervention, they listened to me and began to stretch out with me watching them. Damn, I look like a slaver. Honestly, today I don't feel like exercising, because yesterday I trained my powers until 6 in the morning. In other words, I only rested for an hour and little more, so I made up the excuse that I hurt my back and went to sleep in the infirmary beds. I just hope I don't have another nightmare. Hi. Is there anyone here? I regained consciousness and noticed that I was in a totally white space. I couldn't establish contact with Drag, so I walked to see if there was a limit. Minutes later I chose to run. I continued like this until I could see a spear in the distance. I went to her as fast as I could, hoping to get answers from where she was, and then I realized something. This is not just any spear, it was Gunnar, old Odin's spear. What is he doing here? As it was the only thing visible for kilometers, I took it, and suddenly, everything began to shake, plus the weapon that seconds later shattered the entire white space, revealing a devastated battlefield, and I still had the weapon in my hand. I also felt that my balance breaker was active. I don't know how I got here, but when I turned my gaze towards a destroyed golden building, I deduced that I was in Asgard. Or what remains of it. I heard a male scream near me. I ran in the direction where I heard the sound and found another massacre. People bathed in blood, severed, singed and even crushed. The only survivor of the amount saw me and recognized me instantly. Sekiryuutei, help me. He was one of the Einarjar, spirits of warriors killed in battle, destined to fight alongside the Norse gods in Ragnarok. This one was found lying around. He had half his face missing, and an arm was missing. Don't worry, I'm coming. I was going to help him, but a skeleton got ahead of me and rushed at the Viking, took a shield and hit him incessantly in the face with it against the floor, leaving him almost dead. No. When he stopped his bloody frenzy against a warrior, believing that he would die soon, he turned towards me with the same intentions, but I was faster, and with the spear I severed his spine, completely incapacitating him. Now you are doubly dead. Making jokes is not the smartest thing in this situation. Near the man I saw what seemed to be his personal axe. I picked it up and placed it on his chest, along with his remaining hand holding it. His breathing was forced and he was barely conscious. Calm down. Now. you did enough, rest. He gave one last sigh until he stopped moving. I lowered my head for not having been able to save him. I'm already used to seeing death everywhere, anyway, it's not good for my health. But my grief was interrupted by one of the beings I hate the most in my life. How emotional, Sekiryuutei, you have undoubtedly moved me from the ashes. A silhouette comes walking towards me, applauding and smiling at what he saw. He was wearing a silver tunic with extra accessories. Wow, to give one last sign of respect to that warrior, how thoughtful of you. Euclid, I put myself on guard with a spear, ready for any trick the idiot has up his sleeve. What is Rizevim's favorite puppet doing here? My duty as Lucifuge is to serve the true successor of Lucifer. Wiping the ash that fell on his shoulder, he continues with his monologue. I'm sorry to tell you that our talk will be very short. Because? Why are you doing all this? I've told you thousands of times and you never remember. This guy always speaking sarcastically. He's just as crazy as his leader. I just want to create chaos. And I continue to understand more and more why Graphius sees you as a damn monster. My provocation managed to affect him. His angry face was enough for me. I can also attack his Achilles heel, and that heel is his sister. HMPH, as much as I want to dismember you, I'll let someone else do it. Euclid turns around and walks towards a portal that appeared behind him. But before leaving, he says some words that petrified me. I'll entrust you to the Sekiryuutei and to the rest. Surtur. That. Just when Euclid crossed the portal, the sky split in two, and from that crack the ruler of Muspelheim himself, the kingdom of fire, would emerge, accompanied by an entire army of giants of the same element, leaving everything in his path covered in flames. I didn't know what to do. Only a few Viking warriors and Valkyries remained standing and still able to continue fighting. They saw that I had Gunnar in my hands and stood still, perhaps waiting for me to say or order something. The moment Surtur landed and stepped on the ground, a wave of pure fire 30 meters high was heading towards all of us. He had to think something, and soon or we would be ashes. When the wave was less than 15 meters from where I was, my vision went cloudy again until I was in a totally black space. And I was very hot. I woke up suddenly and the first thing I did was let out a strangled scream. It took me 2 seconds to realize that I was still in the academy infirmary and I had a bad dream again. Yawn damn. I didn't even bother to turn to my sides, so I sat up again, sitting on the edge of the bed, mentally tired, wiping the sweat from my face with my t-shirt and a quick massage at the base of my nose. I can't do it anymore. Take even a short nap without having those memories or without ending up all sweaty. Luckily Drake is still asleep. I better get ready a little. Luckily I don't see anyone else here. I'm glad I didn't scream loudly or I would have attracted half the school. I was already getting ready to go back to class when by pure chance I turned my head in the direction of the bed I was sleeping in and zzz. Zzz. I discovered Rias, who was sleeping peacefully on the side of the bed I didn't occupy. Naked and with her demon wings out of her, he wouldn't say it out loud anymore, but he missed the sight. Her breasts are big and perfect, as they have been since and forever. I'm grateful that I no longer look stupid when I see breasts. I took one of the sheets from the bed on the left and put it over it. Maybe it's a little cold so that it doesn't wake up and that its wings are even covered in case someone comes to look around. I was about to get going when a voice caught me off guard. Oh, hello Issei. Rias spoke sleepily and got up to see me. It's a good thing she put a sheet on her to cover her body or she would be looking at her breasts instead of her face. You're leaving now? Hello but you, actually why yes, I have to go I answered nervously because when she made that movement, her wings were visible again to anyone who came here. Her back she. Huh? What about? Oops. When she notices her, she quickly hides them. It's amazing that he cares more about her wings than seeing her as Satan brought her into the world. But more importantly, what is she doing here? I made an attempt to sound serious and I say try because I wasn't convincing at all. Yufu, I was feeling tired and I thought about taking a little nap, but you arrived first. I understand the nap thing, but of all the beds there are to choose from, because mine. Something smells bad and it's not me. I understand that part, but why is she undressed? And I can't sleep if I'm not naked. It's true, I didn't remember that habit of Rias. It's not that it bothers me, does it make you uncomfortable? Not at all. It's just that she wasn't expecting her breasts and… Shit, I blurted out that word. Okay woman, throw your best insult at me. Big lies, you like breasts, right? What? Talk as if it were not something strange. I understood that at this point, denying my favorite taste would be very stupid, I just have to admit it. Why yes, she covered my eyes after saying that, very embarrassed. If everything happens as I believe, it is unnecessary to say what will happen now. So, would you like to touch my breasts? A tiny flirtatious smile appeared on her face. The last 5 words echoed over and over again in my knucklehead brain. I will never get tired of saying this. Regardless of the context, that is the most beautiful combination of words in the entire Japanese language. If you do me a favor, I'll let you touch them. I came out of my fantasies when I heard that last thing and decided to think with my head to find out the reason for this mini offer. The first time was because I had not been able to sign a single contract, but I will see what the hidden reason for this is. Chance. Tell me, okay. Let me reincarnate you as a demon of my nobility. I don't know what to think of her now. But not in the sense that others would assume. Many would believe that Rias tries to do everything possible, even offering her body, to persuade me to become her servant, but I don't. I know her like the back of my hand. I didn't need even 10 seconds to understand the situation. She is desperate. I can see it in those eyes that show supposed tranquility and maturity, since her forced marriage with Razor is practically around the corner, and I think that the fact of being her slave again is, possibly, his last hope to save himself from such a commitment. I'm holding back the urge to shout yes, but as I said before, it's impossible. I just want to make something very clear. Me not joining her is not the same as saying I won't help her in any other way. I'm sorry but not all the women or breasts in the world will change my mind. Finishing speaking, her previous expression is instantly erased and the front strands of her hair cover her eyes. What should I do? I was able to hear Rias whisper. She seemed to be on the verge of crying. How? Regardless of the fact that she was undressed, she went towards me trembling and grabbed my shirt, resting her forehead on my chest. What should I do to convince you? In a combination of screaming and pleading, I thought I was about to have a mental breakdown. I'll pay attention to it. At least I can give you many things: power, influence, wealth. But I would even give you my virginity. What do you want? Now she looked me straight in the eyes, waiting for a response from me. I think she has never understood me, but I managed to get Rias to sit down again so she could try to calm down a little. As her breathing steadied, I knew it was time. I hope I used the right word. She was never about getting anything in return. So? Her teary eyes are killing me. I hate seeing her like this, but I have my reasons for not being a demon, reasons that will not be affected by material things. I have not been able to invent a good excuse yet to give credibility to my argument. I will see if I can divert the topic. More importantly, why is she so determined in persuading me? It's for something very important. I don't know if I can tell you. Well, I won't pressure her or ask the others anything. I just would like her to tell me when she feels ready. The issue of her arranged union with fried chicken is something that sooner or later I will know. A small wish what I have is for Rias to tell me before I discover it on my own. I appreciate that you understand me, Ice. This problem is temporarily at peace. Now it's time to avoid another one. Something extra. This is more than a favor, it's advice. I put my hand on his shoulder and continued with my little sermon. Don't do something stupid like offer your virginity to someone else like me. As soon as I said it a blush appeared on her face as red as her hair. Yeah? When she happened and Rias was reminded of what he said before regarding her chastity, and she immediately covered her face with a sheet out of shame. Oh, I'm so sorry. What I said. Don't worry, it was because of the heat of the moment, although if you want, I would gladly do it. What the hell am I thinking? This is not the time or the context to imagine dirty things. I hope may the torment be resolved soon. Ice. It doesn't matter, don't lose hope, there will be a solution. I'm not the best at giving words of encouragement, but I do my best to support those I care about. They helped me face my own fears to become who I am now, so it would be very selfish of me if I didn't. I return the favor. But what happened next I never expected, because Rias gave me a hug, even though I was without any clothing, but I didn't focus on it, because I managed to feel that it was an act of affection and gratitude. I hope it's just that. Thank you, Ice, really, thank you. I returned the hug as normally as I could. Don't blame me, she's naked and I'm not made of stone either. But you. I guess Rias deduced that there was a small detail that was still present from my tone of voice. I guess. And indeed, she told me very calmly that I could go and attend to my own affairs, and luckily she didn't see my erection. Or so I think. I'll try to cool my mind along the way, so I just went somewhere else. I returned to my classroom on time, and as soon as I touched the seat, I immersed myself in another sea of theories. Due to the unforeseen event with Rias, I was finally able to measure more accurately the seriousness that her marriage had on her daily life. If only those of the Demon Council were not so conservative, they could save themselves a lot of unnecessary diplomacy, but that is just my opinion. I can't be sure how long until the future rating game between Rias and Razor, since it could be sooner than I expect, or it could even be months until there is something new. Hopefully it won't be too long, or she and her nobility will not be able to take the next step. For now, I must make sure that other events that happened in this time frame come true. Yawn partner, lower the volume of your internal voice when you put your brain to work, you don't let me sleep. You know, you could advise me instead of sleeping all day. Hey, being a sealed soul is exhausting. I don't know how true that is, but is there really nothing to do in there? I'll have the opportunity to fight Drag. Back to what's important, when it's time, I'll be able to do the second thing I like to do most. Ruin forced engagements dragon style. I'm grateful to have experience beforehand. Chapter 8. Familiar to order. Well, I dare you to make a green fire one right away. Another ordinary afternoon day at Kuo Academy. Hyōdō Issei was killing time at the CIO headquarters in the company of his good friend Sekiryuutei, with whom they bet an ice cream that he could not create swords with the characteristics that the brunette could think of. And because the blonde wanted to test the ability of his sword birth. But they were not present in the room. Akeno Himejima was preparing tea and some snacks in the corner. Kaneko Toho was enjoying a can of orange juice. Asia Argento was preparing her bag with more leaflets to distribute, and Rias Gremory was sitting at her desk watching nowhere. The possible rating game between Gremory and Phoenix must already be about to happen. Incredible, now make a two-handed ice sword. Little by little Issei increased the difficulty, giving more specifications. Well, not even 2 seconds passed when he pulled out of nowhere the sword with a description of him. He is very good. Damn. I know now. With another idea in mind, believing that it will be his trump card, the young man launches his last challenge, make it double-bladed, with the first made of pure darkness and the other that is translucent. Of course. And the same thing happened as before. In his hands was the weapon that the boy imagined. Anything else? You win. Accepting his defeat and with Kiba laughing a little, Issei went to sit in the unoccupied chair. Since Asia and Kaneko were in the other one, I'll buy you an ice cream. It doesn't matter, Ice-kun, you gave me new ideas. After the little competition, Issei stood up again with the intention of taking a book from the club's shelf and getting ready to read it, but as soon as he finished the first page he fell exhausted. And even ended up lying on the velvet furniture, sleeping. On his feet and with the book in his face. It should be said that the members present could not help but watch the scene without having a large bead of sweat on their forehead. Except for one woman who went to where the brunette was, and since he was literally knocked out, she raised her head from the chair to sit on the space there was, and when he settled, he gently placed it again, but this time on his lap. And incredibly, the book did not fall. The pee preparations are ready, the blonde of the group spoke to her mistress, watching at the same time the scene between her senpai and best friend, while a mixture of various feelings formed in her. And some tiny tears on her face. Eyes of her. Wait. Rias, for her part, she came out of her stupor without anyone noticing her and stopped her bishop. The time has come to take the next step as a demon. Yes? Asia asked, confused, because she believed that this was part of being a good servant of Lucifer. This will be the last week that you deliver pamphlets. Standing up, the crimson-haired girl continues her explanation, even with the expectant and lost look of her servant. Responding to invocations is the work of a demon, but delivering pamphlets is the role from a family member. So, I will stop handing out pamphlets. Before that happens, you will have to get your own familiar. Finishing speaking, the Gremory heiress raises her hand and from it, a kind of strange bat makes an appearance, surprising the little ex-nun. This is my familiar. After a few seconds, it separates from its place and proceeds to become a beautiful woman with a red dress with details similar to those of a bat. An example of her work was when I sent her to give her one of our brochures to Ice. But Issei-san said that she doesn't want to be a demon. As the days go by, Asia has learned the basics of demonic magic circles. Equally, she still needs to learn certain things. That's right, but Kiba was going to answer that because his and Kaneko's whim is the reason why the brunette received one of those. With the difference that he omitted the topic of fallen angels. He was a special case. Okay, the blonde accepted the answer without anything else to add, but deep down she had a hint of doubt. Which disappeared in a matter of milliseconds when she saw Issei sleeping peacefully on her thighs again. His demon companion. This is Shiro now. Kaneko introduced his familiar, being a tender white kitten with 2 bells on his collar. 9. Mine is this. It was Kiba's turn, and he made a relatively common bird appear on his shoulder. Well, obviously, it could be anything but common. And this is mine. Akeno finally, without moving from his place, conjured a magic circle from which a rather peculiar oni emerged. Since they are almost always bigger. It's one of the fundamentals of being a good demon. Rias takes up the word again, taking a few glances at the scene between her best friend and demon candidate. She didn't show it, but for some reason, it bothers her to see the boy sleeping so comfortable in his queen's lap. Your familiar can bring you information or deliver messages. But how exactly do I get a familiar? You see. The quick lesson was going to continue, but OCD. Forward. After the last words said by the Raven woman, the 2 central doors opened revealing a group of 8 people, 7 women and 1 man to be more exact, having a girl with glasses and short black hair on her head, while on her sides was the only male in the group and another woman with glasses with black hair, but with the difference that this one reaches down to her waist. The rest of the members follow behind them. Excuse me, the one who appears to be the leader spoke very calmly. But her face changed to a much more serious one when she noticed a small detail coming from one of the furniture. Zzzzzzz. The young dragon, for his part, was still in the realm of dreams. And he could have remained that way if it weren't for some words that took him out of the world. Whoever is sleeping there, get your feet off the couch right now. She can't see her face because of the book that covered it. What a surprise she'll get. Some were tensed upon hearing the girl, and of course, they are referring to the cold and upright president of the student council, Sauna Shitori. Not even those who are mentally stronger can be impassive before her. Not even someone as powerful as the Sekiryuutei. Sauna's order was like a bucket of cold water for Issei. So much so that she even fell face down on the ground from fright. Ouch. Ouch. Oh, now yes, she hurt me. Hyōdō senpai. All the C members did not expect to see the brunette. Despite the rumors that spread around the school, they would not believe it until they saw it with their own eyes, but now it is clear. The young man belonged to the occult research club. Yufufufu, are you okay, Ice-kun? Yes, thank you, Akeno-san. Thinking out loud, Issei stood up, rubbing her right arm because she fell on it. Oh, shit. Hyōdō-kun, language. Sorry, Kaichu. The boy bowed reflexively. Suddenly his head clicked and he quickly asked, and looking at the guests, Kaichu. Fukakeichu. Saji. Asia pulled the brunette's sleeve to get her attention since she was confused and then whispers to him, who is she? This is the president of the Kuo Academy Student Council, Shitori Sauna senpai. Issei subtly guides the blonde with his gaze so that she knows who he is referring to. Next to him is his vice president, Shinra Tsubaki senpai. And for some reason, they brought the entire council with them. Rias. Sauna wanted an explanation since she only told him about her new bishop. I'll explain to you in a moment. First. Rias addressed the woman in front of her with a more neutral tone of voice. What are you doing here? We both acquired more slaves, so I thought we should introduce them. Being more relaxed, Sauna gives her reasons for coming. Slaves? So you are also demons? The young man puts forward several hypotheses at the same time. Or that is what he wants us to believe. Her real name is Sona Sitri. She is part of one of the highest class demon clans. Akeno goes ahead to answer the brunette's suspicion. Wow, so there are more demons in this school than I thought. I'm speechless, said a smiling Issei, scratching his cheek. Along the way, he picks up the book from the floor and looks for something. It's true, the clan Sitri, known for having some of the best medical facilities in the underworld, and also the house to which the current Mao Leviathan belongs. Didn't you tell them about us, Rias-senpai? Saji decides to continue the talk, believing that his friend Hyōdō is easy to impress. I'm worried that our fellow demons don't know about our existence. Saji, we decided not to pay attention to the others. The now recognized Sona explains the reason why the newest members of the Gremory entourage did not know them. It is normal that Argento-san and Hyōdō-kun do not know about us. I understand everything, Saji. It's no wonder you joined the council. You became a demon. Then the brunette looks at the council girls with whom he talks most often. I have to assume that the same goes for you, Yura-san, Rias Saint. They both nodded happily, perhaps because they believe that a friend of theirs is also and will be a good demon companion. It's better for the boy to clarify things once and for all. You talk as if you weren't. Why wouldn't you have joined the CIO if that weren't the case? The blonde Sitri spoke with the idea that this was some kind of joke. The young man's hurried and high-pitched laugh said otherwise. Wait, is it true? Actually. Yes, I'm just a trusted friend. None of the C members seemed disinterested in Issei's revelation. On Sona's side, she seemed to be about to scold Rias. But the boy intervened. Before I scolded Butchu, she had already made me the proposal of being a demon, but I declined. I understand that part, but you could have altered her memory. Don't think he didn't try, and as strange as it may sound, it only gave me a headache. Now he managed to capture the full attention of the president of the council, and knowing that, he resumed his story. When he confessed to me what he tried, I promised him that I wouldn't tell anyone, and to make up for it, I support them by filling out papers linked to the underworld or whatever comes up. The silence is brutal. No one said a word, just witnessing the interaction between those two. How long did it take you to learn the language of demons? The woman saw that the book she had at hand was in the original language. Not everyone can read it easily. I spent a whole night awake studying it. Since when do you advise, Rias? A month and a little more. If I asked you for help with some reports, would you agree? It depends, will I earn something in return? Even the most serious ones did not expect that kind of response. Haha. Just kidding, if you ask me, with pleasure. So, there's nothing more to discuss. The Sitri leader's subtle laughter was not heard by many, but those who did were incredulous to hear another type of noise coming from her. The majority of the times, almost everything is scolding. Now back to the main topic. For those who don't know him, this is Saji Genshiro, my pawn. She is my bishop, Asia Argento, and it goes without saying, but in any case, he is Hyōdō Issei, a possible pawn candidate. The three greet those in front of them cordially. So Saji is a pawn, interesting, holding his chin. Issei looked at him carefully until he continued, if memory serves, you have the promotion ability. Correct, do you know much about the evil pieces? More or less, since they are inspired by chess, it is sensible to relate what an evil piece can provide with what each piece does in the board game. The young man's justification before the pawn citry was surprising even for Sona. Not bad for its unofficial academic rival. To inform you, they used 4 pieces on me. Amazing, then the more pieces you have. It's because you are naturally strong, I know. It's great. Issei noticed that his friend was bragging too much. Inside, the brunette wanted to yell at him that he could have occupied more than 8 pieces, but he had to swallow his anger. Anyway, I hope you can get along. Hyōdō Argento and the citry heiress managed to get them to leave the talks for another time and go on to the next thing. Saji. Of course, the blonde approaches to give a proper greeting to the newest piece of the Gremory entourage. Nice to meet you. I'm delighted to meet you. Asia accepts the gesture and responds with greater enthusiasm, holding it with both hands. The pleasure is mine. I am honored to meet a girl as pretty as you. The other, now more confident, says his best introductory phrase. It hurts that there is someone who knows her true intentions. Ahahaha, Saji-kun, it's also a pleasure to greet you again, but the brunette separates the two and greets Saji with a good handshake. Besides, he only calls the blonde that way when he's angry with him, and in the middle of his grip, he whispers in her ear, "You are my friend, but if you cross the line with Asia, I will throw holy water on you, but you want to keep her just for yourself." Meanwhile, he is not affected by such a threat and reprimands him with more intensity. And incidentally delivering a critical blow. "I knew you were a pervert." "What did you say?" The duo of friends kept fighting for stupid reasons. My deepest condolences. I'm wondering the same. The leaders of both clans, however, were simply apologizing to each other for the childish behavior of the boys in their charge. Rather, it was Sona who spoke first for his pawn. "In case you didn't know, they just gave me permission to claim my familiar." That sentence piqued the brunette's interest, but his annoyed expression changed to a confused one, and he let go of the grip as if nothing had happened. If he had used his true strength, he would have crushed Saji's hand like a grape. Familiar. The young man turned to the crimson-haired girl, a sign of having no idea what the citry farmhand is talking about. He regretted asking after a few seconds, since now it was the president of the EC who spoke to him about these for more than 10 minutes. And he almost fell asleep again. Basically, he is the supernatural assistant of a demon. In short, yes, the boy was about to fall for that statement. They could have saved themselves a lot of time with a description of 20 words or less. On the other hand, we have a problem. Rias prefers to move on to what concerns them. And taking this opportunity to propose a solution, I have also decided that Asia is ready to have her family. I see, but these can only arrive once a month. The citry heiress manages to understand what her friend and territory partner is referring to. In that case, how about we have a duel to determine who will have her family member first? A duel? The surprise on Sona's face was noticeable. I hope the Riti doesn't have in mind what she believes. The winner will get the opportunity to claim his familiar. Do you have a rating game in mind? The short-haired black woman chose to rule out a good possibility. She knows what the woman in front of her is capable of doing for her servants. Of course, not unexpectedly, she abandons that resolution. Since there are other reasons to reject such a concept. To begin with, they wouldn't even give me permission to do that. It's true, the council president confesses, accepting that it was foolish to think that could be possible. Along with something else she knows. Also, you have to consider your condition. That has nothing to do with it. The sudden gloomy tone combined with some anger in the Gremory leader's voice was only detected by 2 people who obviously know the reason for that. And in the same way, now her speaking returns to one who is more serene and determined. "I know, let's act like students and determine the winner in a sports competition. How did we get to this? The truth is, I don't have the slightest idea." First, the 2 of them had thought about helping their newest servants claim their own familiar, but upon finding out that the other had the same idea in mind and that only one can arrive a month, they began to debate how to solve it, and even Kaichu provoked in a subtle way to butt you with the topic of her marriage. It's good that only Akeno and I noticed. Now, when Ria suggested a friendly showdown with Sona to see who would get her familiar first, she believed it would be something more unusual, maybe a magic tournament or even a duel to the death with what do I know, knives maybe. I'm going from peaceful to lethal. Ahem. Another situation that happened was that when the citry entourage left the scene, Rias thanked me for supporting her regarding my stay at the CIO without being a demon. What I didn't expect was that apart from gratitude she would give me a hug, and I admit that I liked it. Going back to where it all started, they unanimously determined that they would do something more normal for an average student, and what better than a tennis match between the 2 most notable members of each nobility. The day of the match arrived, it was half-time, and somehow it spread like hotcakes, so it was not a surprise to me to see half the school surrounding one of the tennis courts. I'm sure the meeting will be there. What makes you believe that? The large crowd present, or that they are shouting the names of the brats who will participate? I have a sneaking suspicion that the lazy dragon that lives on my arm made fun of me. Were you sarcastic? Notify me when the competition ends, and drag without further ado, cutting the communication. I'll take that as a yes. It was already arriving on the scene, and as usual, all the fans of the most popular girls in the academy were elated, both men and women, even though the match had not yet started. Meters ahead I found Mitsuda and Motohama, each with a pair of cameras shaped like binoculars. I'm sure they will use them to see in detail how each of their bodies move. I was going to lean against a rack when I hear a familiar voice behind me. "Wow, you're here too, Hyōdō-kun. Oh, Kiyomi-san, it's good to see you. This is Kiyomi, captain of the school tennis club." When I wasn't sure what to do when I returned to the past, I thought that telling him about my true identity would be a good idea. Good thing I backed out at the last second. Anyway, we became good friends. I thought you weren't attracted to these events. Not so much, but I have a feeling this will be interesting. Taking her chin, Kiyomi becomes thoughtful for a few moments, and shortly after she speaks again, "So it's official." I looked at her confused. I know that she is a secret beast tamer, and maybe she knows about my ties to Rias and Sona. You also have ties to the supernatural, as she thought. Come on kid, look impressed by this. Also? Then you. P.S. I know that you are good friends with Rias senpai. And that she is a demon of high renown. Letting out a small laugh, Kiyomi whispers that last thing, and then looks me in the eyes. You might be wondering how I know all this. Well, I dedicate myself to taming fantasy creatures. Incredible, I'm sure it would be fun to spend time with you. I never got bored being with Kiyomi. In fact, I even miss Christy the Snow Woman. But only a little. Why do you think? She, on the other hand, looks away and shyly asks me if I really believe that. Well yes, I don't gain anything by lying. Don't you think I'm weird? Of course not. If I considered you strange it would be very hypocritical of me. The reality of my simple existence is in itself a kind of anomaly of nature. A humanoid dragon with another dragon inside its body and ridiculously large magical reserves. For obvious reasons I can't tell you that. I'll see what I can make up. Hypocrite. I also have my habits, and if I told you, your perspective of me would change a lot. I wasn't so dishonest with that statement, but in any case, this excuse will work for me anyway. Look over there. I turned my attention back to the court, where Rias and Akeno were already present, wearing clothes made for professional tennis players on one side, while on the other, Sona and Tsubaki were wearing the same clothes. Each one with a racket. "Aichu, win this for me." Further away from the two of us was Saji on top of the grate, waving a flag and shouting whatever. Some saw it as a ridiculous number. Not even his colleagues on the council denied that fact. He has always been very enthusiastic. I tried hard to defend my friend's actions. The problem is that it is already very difficult to do so. As you say. It's going to begin. The last thing Kiyomi said was at the moment where the confrontation began. If I could summarize the entire match in 3 words, they would be striking, since I could see with great attention that the 4 began to use magic in each serve they made, making the competition closer. Scandalous, because the slightest movement of the one Isamas drove everyone crazy, making the screams audible for several meters, both from women, praising the technique of each participant, and from men waiting for her skirt to lift a little. Of some of them, and unnecessary, because in the end they ended up tied. And destroyed their rackets in the process. Asia, Kaneko-chan, Kiba and I were resting at the CIO headquarters, talking about how Rias and Sona were discussing what they will do to determine the winner, but they had taken longer than I speculated. The sun was already hiding. What do you think will happen now? But you and Akeno-san are in a meeting with the council to decide that. Kiba tells me, holding what was previously a tennis racket. Possibly they will make it a group meeting. I was going to try to find out more when the central doors open, revealing Rias and Akeno-san. The rest of us were waiting for them to say what kind of agreement they reached with the Citri entourage. "We have decided to play dodgeball." "Well, that's something quite simple. You just give your opponent the ball to eliminate him." Sounds entertaining. "The duel will be tomorrow night, in the gym." "Ice, no, I will force you to come." "Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss this for anything." Giggle. So I can't help it. She was not averse to my idea and continued talking. WOW, convincing her was easier than she thought. "Let's strive for Asia." Yes, everyone remained motivated. "I'm looking forward to what will happen tomorrow." "Thank you very much." Asia was moved by our intentions. For her, I would do anything. We agreed on a few more details, and each one took different paths. She pedaled as fast as she could before worrying my parents. I know I can fly, but it's not the same as a simple bike ride. I was looking around, and I saw the grocery store that I usually visit. I haven't seen Kuroka in several weeks. Either she's doing her thing or she's already joined Volley's team. By thinking about that, an idea came to me and I quickly arrived at the store just before they closed. Fortunately, the owner recognized me and let me make my purchase because I was a frequent customer. I appreciate that this place sells sewing needles and various colors of thread. The next day. It was already night and I met up with my friends from the occult club at the meeting point. Rias and Kiba were practicing passing the ball, Asia was warming up with the help of Akeno, and I was doing the same with Kaneko-chan while we were discussing a few more things. They were also wearing sports clothes for the occasion. They are two more people than us, so I asked them to take charge of the organization, Rias commented, throwing the ball to Kiba, who caught it easily. We only want to determine a winner and a loser, therefore a game with rules simple is ideal. I haven't played dodgeball since elementary school, he said, stretching me as far as he could. In fact, I didn't even remember it existed. Even Asia-san learned the rules quickly. I tried to concentrate on what Kiba was saying. But there was something that prevented me. I can't take it anymore. Try a little more, dear. Why yes. The interaction between Akeno and Asia was melting my neurons. One part wanted to see them and imagine a whole erotic scene, but I didn't do it because the other half reminded me that Kaneko-chan could become an idea of what's going on in my mind and hurting me. I don't want to bend more than what's considered normal. Shit, come on man. I know. I'll be distracted by a cat with that thought, I started my brain. But since I will always be a pervert, I couldn't help but think that feline was transformed into Kuroka. Wearing that hexy kimono, damn. The mental torture lasted a while longer until we had finally finished stretching. I managed to undo my erection and remembered what I had done yesterday morning. Bands for the head. How adorable. Those were one of the reactions of my classmates when I gave them the bands I made, in this case Kiba and Akeno's. I don't know if it was a good idea, but it's something I can offer as a say. I stayed up late making them, didn't you sleep? Rias tells me in dismay. There was a time when I was awake for a whole week. Yesterday, you and Akeno-san tried a lot for the good of Asia. And today, Kiba and Kaneko-chan too, I said half sorry. I can't risk using my strength in the game, but this will serve as compensation. That's why I wanted to at least do this for everyone, as a show of support on my part. They are very well made with Ria's approval. Well, I wouldn't say that it's just something that occurred to me by pure chance. I didn't expect this feat. Even Kaneko-chan gave me some encouraging words. It feels strange. Let's adjust them well and act as a supportive team. Yes, we were already more than prepared and motivated, and in that. Sorry for the delay. Sona makes an appearance with the rest of the members of his nobility. The only thing I hope is that we don't destroy the place during the duel. Each group took positions to open the game. Momo-san and Raruko-chan will play the role of moderators. Yura-san will make the first move as soon as the order is given. The sound of the whistle was the opening signal. Her throw was very fast, managing to graze Kaneko-chan. Fortunately she dodged it in time. Although she was eliminated shortly after. Now the ball became Tsubaki's, who empowered it with magic and sent it in Ria's direction, which she was able to stop without much effort. And parts of her clothes were torn during her movement. I didn't expect anything less. Kaichu also showed his impression of her childhood friend being caught. You were able to stop my service. Who do you think I am? Rias quickly returns the ball with even more power and reinforcing it in midair. Her target was Meguri-san, and she put her hands in front of her to try to block it. Sadly, she couldn't and received the projectile fully. The worst of all was that her clothes turned to ashes, leaving her entire body visible. Luckily I kept my eyes on the ball, which was taken by Rias-san, and tried to give it to me, which for her misfortune he did not succeed. Things grew more intense with each pass, as those who had better control over magic improved their throws, making them much more powerful, even destroying parts of the gym, along with the ball on more than one occasion. Some 6 have been pulverized. Receive my demonic fireball. I was wrong. We are already on the 7th, courtesy of Tsubaki. They're breaking the windows. This is getting very dangerous. I don't even know what game we're playing anymore. Asia and I didn't know what was happening right now. If this continues, we will end up demolishing the structure. Aichu, let's focus on finishing off Hyōdō first. Saji gives Sona an idea. If she listens to him, I will get revenge on him somehow. Shitori style. Demonic ball of death. Oh hell, that technique sounds like if it hits me, it's going to hurt all week. What? The ball was chasing me like a guided missile, but with the difference that it could do so for a long time. I must do something quickly. I was running away from the ball as best I could, but there was a point where I had nowhere to run, and because of the trajectory it has, I estimate that it will hit my little dragons. Out of pure instinct, I put my hands up to try to stop him. What a bad idea. Ice, be careful. Rias did not finish her sentence for a good reason. I had created a magic circle that resisted the impact of the ball. Everyone was speechless at what I did, and it was even more surprising that the ball shot out of my position, hitting Saji in his crotch. Partner, you better make up a good story. Even Drake woke up to give me some emergency advice. I wish it were like that more often. Saji. I missed it. Hahaha. I confessed, very nervous. Although deep down I didn't regret it at all. Ice. Now Rias and the others looked at me accusingly while Saji was being attended to by Momo-san. As Drake said, I must at least try to justify my actions. I swear I can explain it. The magic circle disappeared as soon as I lowered my hands. They even paused the game to want to hear me. I knew I have to sound very convincing. Well, one day I was exploring the bookshelf at the CIO, and I took a random book, and ironically it was about magic. In case you haven't noticed, the spell you used is a high level 1 Kiba, unlike most, seemed to be very impressed. When did you find the book you're referring to? It was 2 weeks ago. At first I was just reading it for fun, until I dared to conjure one ant. I almost electrocuted a homeless man. This whole story is not totally a lie. If I took the book and really gave it a good scare for the gentleman, luckily I erased his memory in seconds, but I'm 100% sure he didn't notice it. Those who knew me before remained thoughtful, but those who didn't still looked at me in disbelief that I had learned magic in such a short time. I didn't know how long the interrogation would take, until… Clap clap clap. You are a very interesting person. Hyōdō Issei began to applaud me with a slight smile that gave me a chill. Then he looked at someone else. Rias, from what I see, there is only me left, and I hate to say it but… I give up. Huh? I never expected that. Sona Sitri just accepted his defeat. As we agreed, you will have access to the new familiar first. Sona's servants did not move from their places, only listening to their leader with great attention. Saji did the same, even being carried like a baby by Rias. And we retire for today, but beforehand I would like to ask you something else. Personal. It depends on what you want. The conversation between the two of them was giving me a bad feeling. I would like to be able to talk more in depth to Hyōdō-kun another time. Damn. That's out of my reach, tell him directly. Rias finished speaking, and Sona just turned to look at me, waiting for something. I just nodded slowly, because they were 2 meters away from me, and I had heard everything. Anyway, although I feel a little bad, I had a lot of fun. Kaichu heads to the exit with the other members of his peerage. But not before saying one last thing, but remember, if it had been a rating game, I wouldn't have lost. Me neither, I couldn't let an old friend beat me. The friendship rivalry between Gremory and Sitri is very peculiar, you know. You say this from experience, right? No matter what Drake says, these types of friendly relationships are the least boring. I am grateful to have one. Or I will have. Well, it's time to go. With this whole event over, Sona and her entourage left the place. I'll apologize to Saji later. We went back to the old building, where we toasted our victory over the student council and taking advantage of the situation, also for me having given them the bands, because they were able to act as a team. I won't deny that part so much. Well, Drake has told me countless times the effect of the Sekiryuutei on people, but it is also because they possess something that not many have. Spirit, and I will support them by strengthening it. On other matters, Rias has also asked me to talk to her regarding the surprise spell I cast. I'm glad she decided to postpone that talk while I enjoy the taste of glory. Instead, the others set off to the familiar forest for Asia's future helper. They offered me to come with them, but I turned it down. I honestly don't have the energy to run. When they disappeared from the living room, I lay down on the couch with the intention of reflecting on a few things. I will never get used to these luxuries, I said, settling down on the velvet furniture. I'm actually someone with simpler tastes. Drake, are you awake? Yawn for a while now. Your yawn gives you away. Aha. What happened? I've realized something. The dragon inside me remained silent, so I continued. I'm deviating too much from my main objective. What are you talking about? I returned to the past to prevent a mass genocide and the destruction of what we know, and instead of thinking about more plans, I'm wasting my time playing dodgeball. Buddy. From the beginning I could simply alter my parents' memories, erase any trace of my existence, and hunt down the Cows Brigade on my own, but no. I wanted to try to have a normal life. Brat. I'm being very selfish. It would have been enough if I were tracking down and killing everyone who has bad intentions. The old Mayu faction, the hero faction, the evil dragons, and so on until I reach Rizevim. But I'm a coward. Are you hearing yourself? Yes, and it is true, Drake. I will not repeat the same mistake twice. Even if I must allow myself to be consumed by my strength until I die. Are you sure it's what you want? What they would have wanted. Don't bring them into this. If you decide to follow that stupid path, then I was wrong about you. You will end up just like my previous wielders. That was what broke me out of my trance. It's true, if I continued my path like that, I would only become another Sekiryuutei. Someone lonely, drunk with power and totally heartless. Dominated by resentment, pain, hatred. But I know both sides of the coin, and the last thing I want is to be one of the crowd. I promised many people, my ancestors included, that I would remain a gentle Sekiryuutei, show them the future together. And I have never lied when promising anything. Also, I have to remember that I also took this route for my friends, to help them overcome what keeps them stuck. Drake, don't apologize, just don't speak that way again, or else I'll get really angry. Drake spoke more calmly. If it weren't for him, I would have already sunk into my own misery, and keep your word of not acting like a superhero. Sure, now more stable, I responded, committed to not being that. I don't have the desire to become one. Sometimes I can't imagine what I would do without you. I say the same partner, you are the first friend I have had in millennia. They had to seal you so you could change your attitude. But at least I didn't use breasts to raise my power. Hey, admit that time was fun. For you. For me it was years of therapy and medications. We continued to bother each other the rest of the night. I will keep this event in mind until the end. I was on the verge of having a mental breakdown, but thanks to Drake I regained control and stopped tormenting myself with probabilities that never happened. Shortly after, Rias and his peerage returned from the forest. Before I leave I just want to know what kind of pet Asia got. Issei-san, meet my familiar. She was still holding a small blue dragon with wings. It was a fact, Asia must have met the semi-developed lizard. Her name is Rizevim. Rizevim? Even the name is the same. Yes, because he shoots lightning bolts and I also took it from your name Asia. It will be the end of the world when you stop being the tender girl that I adore so much. How cute, a treat in a cone. I was about to pet the mini dragon when it growled at me, almost as if warning me that if I touched it, it would be a roasted human. And also because I remembered that it hates males in general. I think the caress is unnecessary. Ice, you can leave if you want, it's already late. Rias suggests that I go and rest. I won't reject such an opportunity. I accept the recommendation, but first. Then another reason came to mind why I didn't want to go to the forest. Slime everywhere and Rasei's raised Kiba, your shoulder is burning, and Kaneko-chan, you have something green on your head. They both saw what I mentioned, and Kiba, with all the calm in the universe, put out the flame with his hand and Kaneko-chan rummaged through his hair until she found the stowaway and quickly crushed him with her hand. Reminder, don't do lewd things to him. I will end up as a punching bag. I said goodbye to everyone and went home more at peace with myself. I have the feeling that I got rid of the remaining doubts I had regarding my next plans. And all thanks to the fact that there were those who helped me get back on my feet. Chapter 9. Destruction and Ash. Beyond. Good morning Asia, Sekiryuutei. Issei-san, good morning. Hyōdō-san. I greeted my two friends in the living room as usual. I was a little tired for reasons that I will mention later. And what happened to them? Leaving my desire to sleep for class, I pointed to Mitsuda and Motohama since they had bandages on almost their entire body. Whoever hit them went too far. The usual Kiryu's response was enough for me. A sigh was the only thing that came out of my mouth and I proceeded to collapse in my chair. It's only been 2 days since Asia got a Rasei familiar from her. During that period of time, the boys told me that a bonus for our victory over Kaichu would be that they would prepare us udon in the traditional way. Along the way I discovered the passion that the Gremory had for this dish. For example, the dough must be perfectly distributed or the thickness of the udon has to be perfect. Although to make it more unique, Sona applied magic in the middle of the preparation, but Asia tripped and was accidentally distracted, bringing as a result, udon was alive and very perverted. All I will say was that it was delicious. And speaking of Sona, after my mistake during the game between the occult club and the student council, I had the talk that I agreed to with her yesterday, and more than a talk it seemed like an interrogation, since the spells contained in the book that I read turned out to be of high caliber. Luckily, she was aware of my supposed level of magic, so it wasn't that difficult to convince her that my actions were out of mere curiosity. What wasn't fun anymore is that I was persuading her for 7 hours straight, and since the talk was after everyone left school, it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning when we finished. At least she designed a special teleportation circle so that I could get home faster. Good thing I told my parents that I would be late because of a job I had at the club, so I scolded her for taking me longer than I intended. It wasn't that intense. Back to the present, it is another day at the academy, and it was no surprise to anyone to see the pair of feverish people with a few injuries. But this time there was someone who exploded, and those who followed the actions of the first one did not have a bit of compassion when hitting them. Even if what they do is not very respectful, that does not justify the actions of those responsible. Good morning, Hyōdō-kun. Those words were directed towards me by Murayama, who was accompanied by Catus. It is still difficult for me to think that they speak to me in such a peaceful way when I originally spied on them in the locker rooms at least once a day. Hello girls, I returned the gesture without much importance. Then I had a hypothesis of the possible culprits and I sat back in my seat. Wait, by any chance, do you know what happened to Mitsuda and Motohama? No, but they got what they deserved. Catus's harsh statement took me out of the picture. I thought they were caught doing their thing again, and this time they used bats with nails instead of bamboo swords to beat them. Perverts are of the worst. So if it wasn't you, she asked me who it could be. Again I said what I thought and loud enough to be heard by them. Hey, do you take us for savages? Murayama calls me out indignantly. At least she recognizes that this time someone did cross the line. Am I telling you the truth or are we still friends? HMPH, and as if they were each other's copy, they both left with their arms crossed and murmuring things that I didn't even bother to listen to. Leave it like that, Hyōdō-san, I don't think they care, Aika advised me as she pointed at the two. I almost slapped myself in the face for what I saw. Look at this girl, her butt is. They both shared a porn magazine as if they didn't have any worries. Huge, but this other one's breasts are bigger, Mitsuda began to laugh foolishly, followed by Motohama. And letting out one or another moan of pain. I guess without anything else to say, I lay back down in my chair. At this moment, I have physics and honestly I am not motivated to solve vector exercises. Later I asked Kiryu for my homework, with that in mind, I prepared to just stare at the window, daydreaming. Fortunately, since I was at the back of the classroom, the teacher on duty did not make me come in to solve a problem, and I was able to rest without any type of interruption. I stayed that way for the rest of the classes, until I went to the CIO headquarters accompanied by Asia. Arriving, I found Kiba cleaning the shelves with a duster, Akeno had a tray with snacks, Rias was leaning on her desk reading a book, and Kaneko-chan was sitting on the couch doing nothing. Hello guys, just like in the morning, I just greeted the others and was going to sit in the free space of the armchair where Kaneko-chan was resting, but she intercepted me. Senpai, can I ask you something? My little cowhide pulled the sleeve of my jacket from her seat to get my attention. She looks very cute doing that. Sure, tell me, why are you always around the perverted duo at the academy? Kaneko-chan's doubt was true. Many have seen me with Mitsuda and Motohama during breaks, and a few believe that the degenerate beat me up. Is he also a pervert? His gaze became harder, perhaps because he thinks he has discovered something dark about me. It's good that I practice some answers in case this happens. You may not believe me, but I'm not depraved. I tried to sound conclusive, since it's been a long time since the last time I did something like that with both of them. I've lost count of how many times they offered me a porn DVD. Nor I am a totally pure soul, I also have lascivious thoughts, but that doesn't make me one, right? She's right, but she still doesn't answer the first question I asked. She seemed to want to make sure that she wasn't doing shady things with my two friends. When you interact with people like them, life is never boring, somehow they always surprise you. I don't care that Mitsuda and Motohama have the reputation they have earned, I will support them in everything. At the end of the day, they were one of the few friends I originally had. Like today, it seemed like someone couldn't stand what they were doing and hit them like never before. I mentioned that as an anecdote. What surprised me was that Kaneko-chan looked away after I spoke and took out a lollipop from her pocket. Now I am almost 100% sure of who was the person who beat them. At this point, I consider it better not to continue investigating. So Ice-kun admits that he has a dirty mind. Akeno jokes around trying to make me uncomfortable. She always knows what to say to embarrass me. Would you like to see a real naked body? Well, I haven't felt this way in a while, since one thing is fantasy and the other is reality. She was going to try to defend me, but someone else interrupts me. Issei-san, if you want to see a naked woman. I'm going to. Asia responded nervously and holding her skirt as if she were going to lift it up for me. I won't let her do that. No, wait Asia, that's not what I meant. I managed to stop her in time and we were able to leave the conversation there. Problem solved. It's true. Now Rias takes the floor to continue this unusual conversation. And a new one begins. I would let you see my naked body if you wanted. But if she ever said that, it was because she had already seen her without any clothes on countless times. But the reason she says it now I don't know. A few more hours passed in which Rias took the opportunity to ask me a few questions about how much magic I have learned from the book I started reading. I have a hunch that they don't mind that I know some magic. In fact, they let me take the book and continue exploring it at home. I guess I can start using attacking and defensive circles if I end up involved in a battle like Issei. Fortunately, Rias didn't force me to stay longer than necessary to talk about the topic, so when it was time to leave, she didn't make any complaints, and with that said, I left the old building accompanied by Asia, Kaneko-chan and Kiba, since the other two had to attend to extra matters and would leave later. I came home with the sole intention of going to sleep. While I'm used to being awake for long periods of time, that doesn't mean I don't want to get a good night's sleep from time to time. That's why, after finishing dinner with my parents, I went straight to take a relaxing shower with lots of soap. I felt like a little child bursting the bubbles that were forming. I returned to my room and looked out the window to realize that it had already gotten dark. Time passes quickly. Greg, I don't feel like training today. I dried my hair with a towel while talking to the dragon on my left arm. Do you think we take tonight off? As you want, but do me a favor and take one of those pills. Finishing hearing that, I stared at the bottle with the pills on my desk. I only consume one a month, since the last thing I need in my life it's drugs just to sleep. If I want to be at my best for the next few days, I have no other choice. Resigning myself to reality, I took out a capsule and swallowed it and immediately went to lie down on the bed. I just yawned. I want to relax a little. I left the container on my nightstand and as I imagined, the effect was almost instantaneous and I was already prepared for a long, deep sleep. Tomorrow could be an important day. Hours before. After Issei and the rest left school, the two most popular one-isamas of the academy, Rias Gremory and Akeno Himejima, were still in the occult club room. One was reviewing and arranging some papers, and the other he just kept looking outside through the window. As if his mind were somewhere else. The other, realizing how her best friend was doing, decides to speak to calm the atmosphere. You know, it's strange those words were enough to catch the attention of the girl at the window, and turning in her direction, Ice-kun's influence on some members of the club. What do you mean, Akeno? Hiba-kun is more comfortable with a friend of his here, while Kaneko-chan speaks and expresses herself more often when he is present, the black-haired woman mentioned, looking through the documents she had in hand. It's incredible how a person can change you in many ways. And he is just a common human. You're not saved either. Turning her entire body around, the crimson-haired girl crosses her arms and uses an accusatory tone. Remember that you put her head in your lap every time she takes a nap on the couch. Yufufufu, he looks very cute when he sleeps. The Gremory queen does not bother, to be honest. But would you do that with anyone? Akeno remained silent and only stood up from the furniture to leave the reports on the desk. To evade that question, she brought up another situation. There is something else that I have been wondering for days. What happened to make you stop trying to convince him? With the theme of joining him to your nobility. Rias forgot what happened a few moments ago and was petrified. She didn't know what to answer, much less could she tell him that she tried everything, and when she says everything, it's everything. It's complicated, that was the best Rias could say. Well, how would you say to someone that they had a short but comforting talk while she was naked? You sound very convinced. What do you mean? I always thought your style was a little liberal, but you seem to be calmer. The redhead continued listening to her best friend without moving a single muscle. Rias, maybe you. It's not that I mind that you worry about me, it's just that this is my problem. The Gremory heiress believes that this talk will go nowhere, so it's better to leave it at that, and when we're in the club room I'm but you, correct? Yes, but you Akeno understands her master's intention, and they leave things there anyway, and with this already spoken at least, she bows. Well, then I'll leave. Okay, good job. Without anything else to say, he leaves the room, leaving the crimson-haired girl alone, who returned her gaze to the window. Until a silver-colored teleportation magic circle emerged from the floor of the place. Rias, upon realizing it, only sharpens her gaze, since she knows very well who it is. At the moment that the glow stopped, a beautiful woman with silver hair dressed as a maid makes an appearance. Oju-sama, the mysterious lady, is the first to speak. Her voice was firm and serious. You know why I have come. One-sama, without the person in front of her noticing her, the crimson-haired girl was casting a spell, and when she finished it, she only said one last thing: I'm not going to talk to you right now. To the woman's dismay, Rias was consumed by another magic circle, disappearing. The only thing that came out of the lady's mouth was a tired sigh, and she walked off to a certain location. In the student council room, the redhead had appeared in it, which fortunately was already empty. Then she scanned the place with her eyes until she came across a filing cabinet next to the central desk. She quickly approaches it and begins to search among the many reports and papers to see what is in it. I'm sure that Sona kept here a detailed record of humans with enough potential to reincarnate them into demons, the girl thought very hastily. Her desperate search continued for a few seconds until she managed to find a folder with the seal of the underworld printed on it. The cover, bingo. Now looking through the pages that were in the folder, she also found the one she wanted in a short time. It was the document with a big stamp that said rejected, and that apart from it included the photo of a young man very well known to her. Okay, she doesn't live too far from here, taking that into account. And also because she heard some steps approaching here, another blood-red teleportation circle appears, and again Rias escapes. The council door opens a few seconds later, and it was the same maid from a while ago. Her eyes conveyed severity as she saw an open and disorganized file cabinet, along with a paper that caught her attention. She took it to read it, and when she finished, it simply says the following. Hyōdō Issei, I'm sorry for the inconvenience in advance. After finishing organizing everything as she simply enters another magic circle and vanishes. Meanwhile, in the residential area of Kuo, a red-haired girl was in the backyard of Issei's house. Something interesting was that she was drenched in sweat. As if she had moved all over the city. I can't believe I got lost, it even got dark, the girl mused, being in the 20th location that she believes is the house she is looking for. Quickly, she summons her family member and says, you know, check the windows and let me know if you see it. The little bat flew away to peek through the windows of the home in search of its objective. The Gremory heiress waited for a few seconds until her servant returned with news she wanted to hear. The second floor room on the right. Good, thank you. Knowing the exact location of the room and leaving her familiar alone, Rias is wrapped for the umpteenth time in a magic circle. When her vision stabilized, she noticed that the bedroom lights were off. Not that it's a problem for her, since she can see in the dark. The problem is that the boy she was looking for was already fast asleep and without the covers of her bed covering him. The crimson-haired girl approaches at a slow pace to avoid alerting the young man. Ice. Hey, Ice, gently shaking him by the shoulder, Rias whispers to the brunette in an attempt to wake him up, but without success. Ice. Rias was starting to get impatient because she believed that the boy was pretending, so in a daring move, she gets on top of Issei in a very compromising pose. Of all the existing positions, because she decided to sit on the boy's lap, we will know in an instant. Ice, wake up, I'm begging you, raising the volume of her voice, the woman was about to give up until an idea crosses her mind. Maybe she'll react if she goes further. Well, if you're not going to open the eyes. The crimson-haired girl chose to start unbuttoning the shirt of her uniform, leaving her white bra in view of the person in front of her. Who, to her bad luck, was actually asleep. Believing that it was not enough, she proceeds to remove her skirt while still sitting on the young man, resulting in her underwear being one of the few obstacles between her and Issei's privacy. Regardless of the fact that her heart is beating a mile an hour and that the boy still shows no signs of waking up, she takes the risk of unhooking the bra she was wearing, leaving her voluminous bust completely exposed. As the next act, she takes the boy's hand. And puts it on his left breast. Am I not enough for you? Is that why you keep acting? Being on the verge of crying, Rias was going to hit the young man on impulse. If it weren't for the fact that her eyes saw a green bottle on the nightstand with an inscription and at the same time she began to calm down. What is this? Sleeping pills. She didn't have time to investigate further as another magic circle emerged in the room. One that she recognized within seconds. It seems like I realized it too late, she said resignedly, getting off of the boy. Then she looks at him carefully for a few moments thinking about it. Ice does look cute sleeping. She was snapped out of her stupor by the person standing in front of her. Who finally had the chance to speak after following her around for several hours. Sama would be very sad if she witnessed this unpleasant scene. Maintaining her firm stance, the mysterious person reprimands the deed. My body is mine, whoever I decide to give it to is my decision. Crossing her arms, Rias seemed annoyed by the woman's statement and confronted her using an authoritative voice. Is there anything wrong with that? Besides, I won't let you despise him. He pointed to the sleeping young man and gave the words that would serve as the final blow. No matter that you are my brother's queen, Grafia. Above all that, she is the heir of the Gremory clan. The woman identified as Grafia takes this more lightly and picks up the shirt from the floor to put it on the girl's shoulders. Please be discreet. Whatever you have to say, I will hear it somewhere else. Akeno, she is included. The priestess of thunder. Very well. Even among high-class demons, leaving the queen vulnerable is dangerous. The maid was happy with such a decision and begins to invoke one more magic circle to leave the house. But not before Rias approached and dedicated a few words to the chestnut tree. Sorry for getting you involved in this, Ice, the crimson-haired girl whispered in his ear and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek. For such an action, the young man writhed in his bed and let out a babbling that was impossible to understand. Which made him giggle. Grafia watched all of this carefully. That human has aroused her interest because in all the years that she has known the deed, she had never seen her behave like that with a man, much less believed that she would choose someone like him to star. Such an irresponsible act. While the silver-haired girl was preparing the jump, Rias began to get dressed and when he finished, she stood next to the maid and looking at Issei one last time. Suddenly, a memory comes to her. Don't do something stupid like offer her virginity to someone like me. The weak smile appears on her face as she remembers that incident. From his point of view, he is one of the few men who are really worth it. Yesterday I slept like a fat baby, even though I had a break from taking pills, I feel incredible and 100% energized. But then I saw my alarm clock and all my good morning mood went to waste. Damn, I'll be late. Partner, don't scream, I'm trying to sleep. My watch read 7:40 AM, a sign that I didn't have much time before school started. I got ready as quickly as I could and ran out still with my toothbrush in my mouth. Then I remembered that I can run faster than a normal person, so it didn't take me more than 3 minutes to get there. I saved myself from Asona scolded narrowly. Everything went as usual, and I was walking alongside Kiba and Asia to the old building because they both told me that Rias wanted me to be present specifically today. The day finally came and I confirmed my theory with what Kiba told me. After my question. Is Butchu in trouble? Yes, Butchu's problem probably has something to do with the Gremory clan. Do you think Akeno-san knows something? Asia tells us. It would be the most logical thing since she is the queen and his best friend. She is Butchu's right hand, so. At that, Kiba stops short and his neutral face changes to a more serious one. What's going on? Surely he already found out what's going on, but I have to keep up appearances. Did it take me that long to realize it? I'm ashamed. Saying it to himself, he goes faster to the CIO headquarters followed by Asia. Then Drake speaks to me mentally and I didn't even move from my seat. Ice-kun, aren't you coming? Be caught up with them in a moment. I remembered that I forgot something in my living room. They both nod and we go in opposite directions. When I made sure I was far away from them, I went to hide behind the bushes. What do you need, Drake? Are you ready for what's coming? What kind of question is that? Of course I am. I thought the dragon was saying that in terms of power, and I was about to come out of hiding. Then, I realized he was referring to something else. Phoenix Brat will probably appear and I wanted to know if you can handle it. It's true, Ravel was very important to me because I also started to have feelings for her. If I had had the chance and a little more time, I would have made her my bishop, but as they say, the big mistake is to ruin the present by remembering a past that no longer has a future, and I am not going to throw the second chance away. I will control myself. I understand, partner, I will trust you. My answer was able to satisfy Drake. As long as he doesn't know where I got that sentence from. By the way, did you see that phrase on the internet? Well, let's go, we have to go to the club. The reptile discovered me, and to avoid looking like a fool, we went back to the occult club. What one finds online is impressive. One last thing, are you going to tell me what you're going to do with the Gremory girl? You're inside my mind, you could read my thoughts, and you would even know the plans I have for the future. I continued talking to Drake at the same time that he arrived at the abandoned building. I prefer that you tell me. Are you sure that's why? Or is it because maybe you spend it sleeping? Well, I'll just tell you this. I just need Grafia to be present. My comment was enough for Drake to shut up. Acting mysterious is fun. I returned as quickly as I could to the CIO building. I was already standing outside the room. I took a deep breath and knocked 3 times on the door, but I didn't hear Rias or Akeno's voice. She was a more neutral one. Go ahead. She's already here. I cautiously opened the door and peeked into the room. Asia, Kiba, and Kaneko-chan were standing behind the left armchair, with the latter two almost standing guard. Then my eyes met Grafia's, who looked at me with surprise. She doesn't care. Finally, Akeno was giving a subtle bow and having a tray in hand. Ria's queen's tea has always been delicious. Well, I wasn't surprised to see the boiled chicken present and drinking tea from a porcelain cup. What's bothering me is that he has Rias by his side and was using of his hands to caress her hair. Let's recap, the arrogant guy in the red suit sitting over there is Razor Phoenix. Summing it all up, he is the 3rd son of the Phoenix clan. He possesses the flames of the legendary immortal bird, the Phoenix, the most popular rookie in the raiding games. And also Ria's fiancé. It's a pleasure. That sentence said by Akeno sounded very forced. Well, of course, his best friend is engaged to a jerk. She went with the rest and they all came to see me with different expressions, bewilderment, sadness, stupor. Well, except for Razor, since the bastard was busy touching Ria's legs now. I closed the door as quietly as I could and headed to the left corner of the entrance with the sole intention of watching the show. And intervening if the occasion warranted it. Please leave me alone. Being noticeably annoyed, Rias stands up to move away from Razor. I've already told you many times that I have no intention of marrying you. But Rias, I doubt your family will abide by your selfish behavior forever. The plucked chicken provokes Rias because of his temper. I wish I had bought one of those anti-stress balls. I don't want to destroy your family. Rias responds, defending herself from this guy. The Gremory and Phoenix have a friendly relationship for years and she won't ruin such a friendship just because she doesn't get along with Razor. On the contrary, I am delighted. But it is my choice to decide who I marry. After the last war, the number of purebloods decreased, and this is a problem that affects all demons. I know what direction this discussion is going, I better get ready. A sheet of paper will be enough. Your father and Surzich's Sama thought about that when they made the decision for us to get married. My father, my brother and everyone in my family are too scared adopting a more authoritarian stance. Rias tries to glare at the burnt chicken with her eyes and voice. I won't say it again, Razor. I will never marry you. Listen, Rias, I am the heir of the Phoenix clan. Holding Rias by the chin, Razor proceeds to intimidate her. The courage she has of her to do it in front of Grafia. I can't let you do that. They both stared at each other, their magic reflecting in their eyes and waiting for the other's reaction. Akeno, Kaneko-chan and Kiba got ready to launch themselves at Razor to protect the mistress from him in case everything ended badly. Even if I have to burn all your slaves, I will take you back to hell with me. That was now a direct threat and Grafia was already about to speak. But I was faster. Everyone was surprised to see Razor with 2 balls of paper covered in saliva on his left cheek, but his expression was greater after seeing that I was responsible, since he had made a homemade blowgun with half of the sheet and the remains of the other. Used as ammunition. On target, leaning against the wall, I boasted about my aim and was preparing more projectiles with slime. The others just looked at me with their eyes wide open. What is a stupid human doing here? I finally caught the attention of the grilled chicken, but without releasing his grip on Rias. Then I hit him again in the face, and now he got angry. Do you know who I am? Yeah, then you should behave like the pathetic, disgusting and conceited guy. I interrupted him and told him the best insult I could think of. I think he took it very personally because he goes towards me with an unfriendly face. When he got to me, he alone stood there watching me, waiting for my next move. which was just to point the blowgun higher and shoot him another pellet with more saliva. I hit him close to the mouth and he didn't do anything, then I wanted to take it a step further and instead of another projectile, I charged a spit. Okay, I admit that I did overdo it there. But he didn't even touch him because he began to release flames from his body, burning the balls that were on his face plus the goo in the air. All before everyone's incredulous gaze. Hey, if you were going to do that, you would have warned me, he feigned annoyance because a very small smile appeared on the hot chicken's face. I would have brought a stick and chocolates. He wasn't very amused by the joke and he grabbed me by the collar of my shirt with his right hand, lifting me up a few inches. Now everyone had a combination of worry and anger reflected on their faces. Insolent brats like you are the ones I hate the most. Razor was carrying a small sphere of fire in his left palm and pointed it at my stomach. It would be very easy to turn you into ashes right now. I turned to see the rest and I felt their fear even here. Some would apologize and beg for mercy if this happened to them. But that's not my case. And what's stopping you? I prefer to continue bothering people susceptible to provocations. And grilled chicken is an example. Come on, show me what you so presume to do. You're a mess. We couldn't continue fighting for someone who got tired of our little act. Both of you, please stop. Grafia did not move from her spot and scolded us for our actions. My friends calmed down after seeing me fall to the ground unharmed. Razor-sama, please refrain from attacking humans when you are here. DCH, if Lucifer's precious queen says so. I can't disobey. Massaging his hand, the roasted chicken went again to where Rias was standing. Instead, Grafia only looked at me for a few seconds before returning her attention to what seemed to be more important. Oju-sama, Razor-sama, I am here by Surzicha-sama's orders. For your sake I will not let anything happen without losing her posture, she continued explaining her reasons for coming here. It was better to go with the others, and I nodded to them, letting them know that I'm fine, it just burned some of my shirt. My master believed that something like this would happen, that's why he gave me instructions for a situation like this. Situation? What do you mean, Grafia? If Oju-sama wanted to impose her will so badly, she was ordered to start a rating game to settle things. Yes, finally. For a second, I thought I ruined the possibility of the duel. Rating game? I whispered to Kiba for information. I already know them by heart, but just in case. It is a game similar to chess, in which demons force their servants to fight among themselves. If you remember, the pieces grant us combat skills. Kiba and Akeno explained to me, paying close attention to the instructions given by Grafia. On the other hand, Razor puts on a sinister smile upon hearing such a proposal. I have experienced several games and won many more. The breaded chicken mocked Ria's condition and then continued chattering, not only do you have no experience, you don't even have all your pieces to participate in one. Basically, they are at a disadvantage. My conclusion was accepted by the others. Now Kaneko-chan add something else. That's not our only point against shit, I already have ideas of what my cowhide is talking about. Rias, I'll ask this to be sure, pointing our direction. Razor seemed to want to scoff a little more, not counting the human scum over there, are they all your slaves? So what if they are? Rias responds offended. Then the baked chicken snaps her fingers while he laughs so shamelessly. At that moment, an orange magic circle emerged surrounded by flames, from which 15 beautiful girls emerged, each one with different features. And Ravel was one of them. These are my 15 pieces. In other words, I have a complete set. Your entire group is made up of women. I commented, impressed. Obviously that's not the case, because it doesn't surprise me, you have the vibe of a real degenerate. How dare you call Ani-sama that, you stupid human. Ravel faces me very angry. Despite knowing what kind of man her brother is, she will continue to defend him from whoever. I'll show you what a degenerate can do. The 5th class bird confronts me unprepared. At least he no longer ignores me. Baluna. Yes, Razor-sama. Damn, now I'll have to see that pair of exhibitionists again. As soon as she arrived with Razor, he began to kiss her in an abrupt and overly obscene manner. And I'm not just saying this for the sake of talking, because Ria's face also says it all. To make the scene even more disgusting, he ran his hands over her clothes, from one of her breasts to her groin. I had already accomplished my goal, so leaving was vital for me. Does this seem pathetic to you? More than pathetic, it makes me sick. I crossed my arms watching how the horny chicken stopped groping her to hear me properly. In fact, the guy already hates me. Believe me, if an idiot like you were the representative of the demons, I wouldn't become one in 1,000 years, and to top it all off, you do it with Butchu by your side. How dare you say that when I'm superior to you? I separated from the boys to have the cretin completely in front of me. I don't need to be better than you to say what I think, you bastard son of a bitch. No one expected him to insult him directly for the second time, not even Grafia. The fury was noticeable among the members of Razor's nobility, including him. I better go before you decide to have Hex in this room. Who said you can leave? He was already directing me towards the exit, ignoring the chicken and broth completely. Unfortunately, I knew that he would not stay without doing anything. Look. Yes, I could clearly see the girl who responded to Razor's order, blue hair, karate girl outfit and a bow as her main weapon. She just looked at me with a frown. Get out of my circa. I didn't finish speaking because Mira hit me in the stomach with the tip of her cane hard enough to knock all the air out of me. Puff. Ice Kun-san senpai. I knelt down with one leg, holding the injured part. It didn't hurt that much, but I must show myself as a common and fragile human. Believing that now she would throw me to the ceiling, she chose to remove the cane from me and gave me another, but this time from the side and in the face, leaving me on the ground and staining it with blood. Get away from him. Kiba stood in front of me wielding a long sword against Mira, while Rias and Asia ran to see my state. Ice, can you hear me? Rias is very worried and Asia summoned her rings to start healing me. I'm fine, cough cough. I've been hit worse. I got back up, sitting on the floor, rubbing the wound and coughing up a little blood. Although I had a slight ringing in my right ear. I knew you were weak, you only know how to talk. Although you also withstood the strength of my less strong pawn. Razor-sama, that's enough. I could hear Grafia scolding the grilled chicken. Then she goes to see Rias. So, do you choose to play the game, Oju-sama? Yes, let's settle things with a rating game. None of the members of his nobility could help but be amazed by his mistress's decision. I may have something to do with that. As you wish. Grafia nodded, remaining neutral. I went to sit on the couch leaning on Kiba. Rias only said one last thing to the idiot Phoenix. Razor, record my words. I will finish you, I swear. I will look forward to it. My daring Rias. The roast chicken went with the other girls of his peerage, but not before saying goodbye, until we meet again in the arena. With that said, the group left. Finally. I was being healed by Asia for 10 minutes, while Rias and Grafia talked about some details of the rating game that is going to be a fact. It will be in 10 days, understand? 10 days. Well, the period of time they will have to prepare will be the same. Judging from the experience of Razor-sama and Rias-sama, I think that this decision is not appropriate. I think the same. Grafia, I think the same. It's unfavorable, I know. But we can't refuse being more willing. Rias continues talking about what she is approaching. Instead, I will gladly accept the 10-day extension to our training period. I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble, but I apologize to both One-samas. And then I had to act like I don't know who Grafia is. Pleasure to meet you, my name is Grafia Lucifuge, I serve the Gremory clan. Bowing slightly, Grafia introduces herself to me. She was always very upright about these things. Hyōdō Issei, the pleasure is mine, I returned the greeting, slowly getting up from the furniture, since Asia had finished healing me. If there is nothing more to discuss, I will leave Oju-sama. Of course, with Grafia saying goodbye, this whole ordeal ended. Or at least most of it. This is why I asked you to become my servant. Rias confesses to me his motives. Well, at least I confirm my ideas. Anything else, is what you said true? Excuse me? You won't become a demon even in 1,000 years. That. What am I supposed to answer? Lying is not an option, I just have to be honest. Yes, the thing about not being a demon is true, it was already very uncomfortable to be here. That's why I walked slowly to the exit. If it's any consolation, I'll cheer you on from afar. At least I can do that. As soon as I finished speaking, I left the place because it was very certain that they would want space to discuss their next move. As would I, because as I said before, my plan is already in motion. A week and a little more later. The boys' training period flew by. They told me that they would go to an area in the mountains that belonged to Rias for that very thing. I didn't go with them for fear of being a hindrance during their preparation, but that doesn't mean there was lazy state all that period of time. I've been finishing some preparations for when it's time to act. Depending on the outcome of the game, which suggests that Phoenix will be the winner, that's when I'll have the chance to introduce myself to the underworld as this generation's Sekiryuutei. I would have liked not to make such a fuss, but talking with Drag, I understood that that is not possible due to my inevitable encounter with Vali, putting me in the eye of the hurricane in the near future. Let's focus on what's happening right now. I'm at the CIO headquarters. It was already night and there were a few minutes left before the rating game between Rias and Razor would start. I could feel the nerves in the air, especially from Asia and Kaneko-chan. Each one wore their school uniform, except Asia, who had her nun's outfit. If she feels more comfortable like this, I can't complain. Kaneko-chan was wearing boxing gloves, Kiba was wearing a sword sheath on his waist, and lastly Akeno and Rias were drinking tea to get psyched up before the fight. I only watched the chandelier on the coffee table with great attention. Catching me off guard, Asia hugged my right arm. Not only is she nervous, she's also scared. I just held her hand and gave her the best face I could put on. Seeing her smile is a sign of that it worked. Shortly after, Kaichu enters the door accompanied by his queen, Tsubaki. Excuse me. Good evening Sona, welcome. Rias saw my upset face, so she answered my question. The rating game is monitored by another clan, they will be in charge of ours. We volunteered because this was Ria's first duel. I was already saying, because Sona chose to volunteer for the role of referee for this game. I'll show you a fight that will make you feel proud to be considered my rival. They always put their friendship rivalry in almost everything they do. It never stops being interesting. The chatter stopped due to the large silver magic circle that emerged in the room, from which Graphia emerged. It's time. Rias-sama, are you ready? Yes, whenever that's the attitude, Rias. Everyone stood up and went to Graphia's side. I managed to stop Kiba before he arrived. Is something wrong, Ice-kun? I know you can, go and beat up the stuffed turkey. My joke might have made Kiba laugh. If you gave me 100 yen for every insult I came up with for Razor, I'd be a millionaire. Take it for granted. Kiba's new determination was reflected in his eyes. We're going back to the monitoring room. Kaichu and Tsubaki also came just to give their best wishes to the Gremory entourage. Unexpectedly, she spoke a few words to me before leaving. Do you want to come, Hyōdō-kun? Seriously? Won't this give you problems later? No way. Sona gives me a warm smile. That trait is very strange in her, so much so that it's a little scary. Come with us. I looked at Rias to see if he was okay. Her nod was enough. I said goodbye to the others, cheering them and giving them a thumbs up. When we left, the last thing I heard was the sound of a magic circle appearing. I follow her. Kaichu. We walk for a while until we finally reach the room with several screens in front. The battlefield will be the school again. We took our seats and Graphia's voice was present, echoing throughout the dimensional space. She announced the basic rules, such as the enemy bases and the conditions of each group. When she finished giving instructions, the game began. Rias and the others began to plan their strategy. The first battles began. Each side was losing servants little by little. There were only very few left standing. The battle was reduced to a direct confrontation between kings. Rias was using his best techniques to try to gain ground. Razor just didn't do anything except watch Rias try to harm him. And the result was, sadly, the same as the first time. Razor won a crushing victory over Rias and the others. No. Was all that came out of my mouth, and I swear the two Citri girls were looking at me with pity. I don't have the desire to describe how my companions were massacred by the nobility of rancid chicken. I could only see everything from the arbitration room with Sona and Tsubaki as witnesses. Part of me wanted to go to the arena and give Razor the beating of his life because of the humiliation my friends experienced because of him, but the other half forced me to keep a cool head, causing me to only clench my fists in frustration. I'll teach him a lesson soon. Now I only have one thing left to do, and it's called wait. Chapter 10. Engagement Party. Tick. Tack. Tick. Tock. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, resting my elbows on my legs, looking at my alarm clock that read 11:18 p.m. I'm simulating the sound of a wind-up clock to kill time. And even Drake joined in my little game. 2 days after the raiding game between Rias and Razor, Kiba told me by phone that he and the others were going to the underworld for a few days. I asked him about his mistress's engagement and, sounding frustrated and letting out a few sobs, she said that if she will have to marry the sweet and sour chicken, since she gave up watching Razor burn and narrowly drop an unconscious Asia into the void. I still feel like destroying something when I remember that. I asked the others how they felt. Akeno was trying her best to talk as usual, but I'm sure the thought of having failed his best friend was eating away at him. Sadness seemed to dominate Asia, according to me, because she thinks she will lose the woman who gave her a second chance. And Kaneko-chan didn't even say anything, but I knew from Kiba that he was the same with them, and his expression was twice as off. Sona also went alone to the underworld to accompany them and try to lift their spirits, despite also feeling bad. She just knew how to hide it very well. I haven't been able to contact Rias either, maybe because the marinated chicken has her busy with stupid marriage preparations. I also found out that, due to the union of those two, Rias will continue her studies in the underworld and her servants will go with her, resulting in Kuo being placed under the full custody of Kaichu. He didn't dislike the idea so much. Sona, but she knew it would be hard to deal with renegades and the contracts that may arise without the support of her childhood friend. The day is the night in which they will announce the marriage of the heirs of the Gremory and Phoenix clans. I already had several things ready for when this moment arrived. I wasn't wearing my academy uniform or casual clothes, instead, I was wearing the same clothes I wore when I went to rescue Asia. Although with some changes, I repeat, this is because I had the opportunity to enlist further in advance. I want to keep my identity a secret from everyone, so I was repairing an old mask that I used during part of the Holy War. Azazel said it was intimidating, but I left it because there was no point in hiding my face anymore, because now everyone knew who I was. And why I broke it. So. Drake got tired of making clock sounds, and the green gem materialized in my hand. You will use it again. Yes. In my right hand I had the damn mask. I had some leftover Asgardian steel, so restoring it was easy, and now it's stronger. I'll put it on in a minute. I implemented the same voice modifier as the helmet on my armor, and that will become a backup in case the one on the mask fails or is destroyed. I thanked Drake for activating it when I arrived at the church, because I wasn't thinking calmly. Let's go on to list the pros and cons. Advantages: 1. The mask hides my face completely. 2. They won't be able to see my facial expressions, so it will be almost impossible for others to know how I feel. 3. It has a ventilation and heating system depending on the weather to avoid having to take it off. 4. Extremely resistant to any type of attacks. 5. It has an emergency seal in case I overpower myself in the middle of a fight. Disadvantages: 1. Those around me would have a hard time trusting me because they don't even have an image of who the subject under the mask could be. 2. I will not be able to take it off under any circumstances. Even if I go to the bathroom. 3. If the seal doesn't work, sooner or later the mask will break into pieces. 4. The blood that I may spit out in case I receive a powerful blow will be spread inside the mask, forcing me to wash it when I can. 5. I can't scratch my nose. Lying on the bed without raising my feet, I started to see the ceiling of my room and occasionally saw the mask. Incidentally, the dragon on my arm wanted to continue talking. I have another question. What the hell are we supposed to be waiting for? I could feel Drake getting more and more impatient. I thought we were going directly to the underworld. First I have to explain everything to you, since it's not like we can go just like this. He needed an excuse. I hear you. Hold on wherever you can, brother, because this is going to take a long time. Well, first of all, you must remember some things about what happened the first time setting myself on the bed. I continued with my story. Grafia visited me and gave me a special brochure to go to the place of the ceremony. There I confronted Razor, and to give greater weight to my words, Serziches, the current Lucifer and Rias' older brother, wanted to take the opportunity to prevent such a marriage under the pretext of giving a show and a prize for the winner. And because I knew that you, the Sekiryuutei of this era and her servant, would have a small chance to defeat the Phoenix brat. Exactly, but on this occasion, he will surely be desperate to try to cancel this engagement, but if he intervenes directly, his job as Mayu would be on the line, since being Ria's brother could be considered favoritism. Then search in my pants pocket and I took out a piece of paper that I had folded. Unless I have an unexpected ally. Is that a summoning circle? You were right. Opening the pamphlet, it has a magic circle inscribed on it. Remember that Ajuka advised me to create my personal invocation pamphlets in case there was some type of crisis and I could reach the place from which they called me in a matter of seconds. Aha! But how are you going to give one to Lucifer? And no problem, and that's because I already gave him one. I got tired of lying down and stood up to continue explaining to Drake, who seemed to be dismayed. Well, technically it was Grafia who gave it to him. Daughter, so I hope. I don't understand how you gave the maid the pamphlet. That's what I'm going for now. Walking in circles in my room and with my hands behind my back still holding the mask, I continued answering the questions of the lazy dragon on my arm. I needed to distract Grafia to hide the pamphlet in the ribbon of her dress without him realizing it, so provoking the marinated chicken was enough for me to make my move. Then I remembered how I was being held by Razor, enraged by the saliva pellets on his face. While he was preparing his fiery attack, I moved my fingers as subtly as I could to hide my pamphlet in Grafia's ribbon, who luckily didn't. He noticed when I put it in and most likely already gave it to Serziches in case he requires last-second help. Basically, it's up to him if I go there. Something ironic is that he asked me to do this the first time, giving me a special brochure to go to the wedding venue and even with a message from him. But this time, I will do the same with him and even with a brief inscription included. Then I saw myself in the mirror in my room. As for my outfit, I modified the sports pants I have to a more formal one and changed the sneakers for black and red boots. The black long-sleeved t-shirt and the red sweatshirt will remain the same. I reinforced each of my clothes with protective magic so that it is more resistant to all types of attacks, from fire orbs to powerful electric rays, and tolerates the power of my spells. Lastly, I got some black leather gloves, which I reinforced with alchemy so that they can withstand the force I use in my attacks. I'm grateful they were on sale when I found them at the mall. I decided to put on the mask now, securing it with magic to prevent the knot from unraveling. Then I put on the hood to cover my hair. I'm not stupid either. My hairstyle is not very common, and if someone manages to identify it, my identity could be vulnerable. Furthermore, the edges of the hood and mask have tiny but powerful magnets that will hold them together. I don't want a little breeze to expose my head. How do I look? Activating the mask's altered voice, I asked Drake for his opinion. Are you sure you're not trying to be a superhero? Because you look like one. The boosted gear gem became covered by the glove, but without ceasing to emit its characteristic green light. I won't deny that part, but before you complain to me, I needed a substitute for the academy uniform. I continued talking while I warmed up, stretching and punching the air. The voice modifier works perfectly. It's very comfortable to fight, but if I was wearing it, it wouldn't take long for them to find out who I am. You have a good point, and one more thing. Will you use your weapons? Drake reminds me of something important. My arsenal is made up of weapons that should never have existed. Aberrations in every sense of the word. But I will save them for a real battle. If I did, I would end up accidentally killing the raw chicken. I'm just going to beat it up being more prepared. I went to sit in my desk chair. Razor is not evil, he is just another bastard, perverse and arrogant demon of the bunch. My job will be to get him down from his cloud of superiority, but maybe if I use some tricks I have up my sleeve. I see. I hope this is interesting. The gem disappeared from the back of my hand, but I was still listening to my partner. At that, I begin to hear his laughter. Cuckoo. I hope the white man hears things about us and is terrified by the power we have. Wow, so you miss Albion. I hate to admit it, but yes, he is the only one worthy of being my rival. Drake confesses. I won't say it out loud, but deep down I miss Volley anyway. Have we already come on? We will leave when Serziches decides to contact us. What if he doesn't? He will. I'm sure. If it time. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Say something like that again, and I'll interrupt your erotic dreams for the rest of the week. Okay, I chose to remain silent and not challenge the dragon in me. I prefer those types of fantasies than the nightmares I sometimes have. About 15 more minutes passed and nothing happened. Combined with the fact that I could hear Drake's breathing as if I had him next to me, I was about to lose hope. Fortunately, the magic circle on my pamphlet appeared below me. Alone I breathed a sigh of relief. "In truth," he called. Said the dragon to himself, and I could hear it. "You didn't think it would work?" I feel offended, feigning sadness. I stood in the center of my room, ready for what's coming. Yes, of course, it doesn't matter. Time to go to a party that no one invited us to. With that said, I was enveloped in a scarlet glow. There is no turning back. From now on I will be a vigilante. But never a hero. Moments ago. In the underworld, precisely in a large room where barely a little light entered, a man with hair as red as blood was sitting on one of the 4 thrones that were around, wearing the clothes of a true noble. But his expression was a mixture of seriousness, concern, and suppressed anger. In front of him stood the maid known as Rizevim Lucifer, who kept her face serious despite feeling the same as the redeed. Knowing that they are on a tightrope, the man on the throne breaks the silence. It happened at the end, huh? The boy mentions melancholy, resting his elbow on the armrest. Yes, the woman responded with her typical neutral tone. But there was some negativity in the way she spoke. That being the case, I no longer know what I can do for Rias. Getting up from his seat, the man shakes off his suit and then makes a robe with golden edges and decorations appear. Assisting could be the only thing in my power. "Do you think there's no way out?" says the silver-haired woman without taking her eyes off the man who was wearing said tunic. "Well. No." Checking his pants pocket, he took out a pamphlet that had an unusual magic circle, since it was crimson mixed with green and had an imposing dragon drawn in the center. He simply handed it to her. Teaches the woman. Serziches-sama, we do not know who is behind that message. Grafia faces the assumptions of the man identified as Serziches. She believes that someone with bad intentions is offering their help. Don't forget that he is still the current Mao Lucifer. What option do I have left? From the way young Lucifer speaks, it is normal to believe that his hopes are in ruins. I gave him a chance with the rating game, but… Unfolding the pamphlet, he reads again what he said. It had written on one of its faces. If he wants to save his sister from a miserable and unhappy life, contact me. Master, I repeat that they could try to take advantage of her situation. Despite showing her distrust of this, Grafia couldn't help but think that this was a unique opportunity. Maybe. But I don't have time anymore. Serziches places the paper on the ground and then uses his magic to activate it. Hopefully, it's someone without evil desires. I hope I don't regret this. Well, now resigned to the decision of her master, the maid goes to her side to welcome the being that comes out of that pamphlet. At the same time, in the Phoenix territory, Rias Gremory looked closely in the mirror of the room where she was, and this is for a good reason. It's supposed to be an engagement party, but this looks like a wedding dress. In fact, she was wearing a beautiful white dress, one that many women dream of having for the happiest day of their lives. But no. Is the case for the Gremory heiress. "You're right," says a male voice that the girl identified in seconds. A magic circle enveloped in flames emerges in the room, from which emerges none other than Razor Phoenix, the fiancé and future husband of the crimson-haired girl. She sharpens her gaze just by seeing him. "Razor-sama, you can't." One of the maids tries to stop Razor halfway. Of course, without much success. This area is not allowed for men. "Don't be so strict, I'm the star of the night," the blonde phoenix boasted arrogantly. After a very brief silence, he remembers that he came and approaches the young woman. "Oh, right, the fiancé is the star. My mistake. I'm not your fiancé yet." Crossing her arms, Rias maintains her reluctant attitude to accept his reality. And taking advantage of the fact that he is here, he will ask for answers as to why she is wearing this dress. "What's up with this dress? It's perfect. This way I will show the underworld the relationship between the Gremory and Phoenix families." The statement of the Phoenix heir made the girl sigh internally. "It's all for prestige. There has never been another reason ahead. Use this makes it easier for you to give up, right?" On the other hand, the redeed remained completely silent. Only giving her eyes capable of penetrating to her soul. Don't worry, your dress for the royal ceremony will be on a different level. Completely ignoring Ria's gun eyes, Razor walks away from her, but not before saying a few last words. Following the tradition of the Phoenix family, it will be the most beautiful ever seen. Decorated with wings of fire, and just as it came, it also left in another teleportation circle. What horrible taste. Just what I expected from someone so pretentious, the crimson-haired girl said to herself. But then a not-so-old memory invades her mind. She remembers being in the artificial dimension, on the roof of the largest building in the school. From the look of her it was easy to deduce that she was tired. Torn clothes, several scrapes and a few wounds with blood flowing. He was launching her best attacks with the power of destruction at the person who was in front of her. And protecting her beloved bishop who was behind her from her, Asia Argento. No matter how much magic and power she put into her spells, none of them could hurt her. Because it was Razor Phoenix and his ability to regenerate in seconds. He was talking about how absurd this confrontation was, so he charged a sphere of fire that hit her squarely. It wasn't that painful, but the explosion made the little blonde slip and remain unconscious on the edge of the roof. The blonde, being more than fed up with all this spectacle, went to where the former nun was and held her by the neck, ready to burn her with his flames and throw her off the structure so that she would die definitively with the fall. And like the deaths in the raiding games are considered accidents, there would be no consequences for the person responsible. After seeing Razor's intentions, the Redeed began to scream loudly for him not to hurt her. But it was not until she saw how he loosened his grip on Asia that, with the little strength she had left, she rushed towards him to hug him. Crying and admitting his defeat. He, for his part, smiled satisfied and left the blonde on the edge of the roof. Don't lose hope, there will be a solution. I wish it had been like that. Ice remembering some words said by the brunette, Rias looked down at the chandelier in the bedroom. But his sorrows would be for another time. Rias-sama, it's time. Another of the servants present in the room informs the Gremory heiress about what was next on the itinerary. Returning to her serious attitude, she just nods her head. Meanwhile, a large ceremonial hall is the scene of an important gala in the underworld, where guests chatted and drank with joy. But it is not the same for a small group of low-class demons. Different mixtures of emotions abounded on their faces. Sadness, pain, disappointment, emptiness. Frustration in general. Ani-sama won a fiancé in a raiding game. Before all this, there was also a young blonde who seems to be Razor's younger sister. Boasting about his victory with her fan covering half of her face, it was obvious from the beginning who would win, but either way it was a great show. Look at her boasting. This was said by a serious Kiba, who was wearing an elegant black tuxedo, holding a glass with tiny cracks. A sign that he was about to break it. You must have forgotten that it was transmitted. A familiar voice was heard by the young demons. A girl with red glasses and a light blue dress approached them, putting aside the result. It was quite impressive. Sona Kaichu, little Asia said, surprised. She was wearing a long olive green dress with gold details on her skirt. Like the others, she was not in the best emotional state. Or rather, she exceeded everyone's expectations, even though she tried hard to stay positive. This was difficult for the Citri heiress, because now only a miracle would save her childhood friend. Thank you for the compliment, Sona, answered a Sadakeno, wearing a traditional black kimono. That seemed to end the small conversation until the Gremory male added one more thing. Yes, thank you Kaichu, Kiba concluded, looking at her drink and occasionally at her cowhide, who was wearing a short pink skirt dress with white accents. The reality is that the 5 demons remembered more than one event. Hineko, the only one who didn't say anything, kept thinking about her performance during the raiding game. Her orders were simple. Set traps and take the gym as a strategic point, being intercepted by 2 pawns and a rook upon arrival, which he barely defeated. Then he left the place to regroup with Kiba and was 2 steps away from falling into a trap set by the Phoenix Queen. Fortunately, she managed to find the Gremory Knight and they continued on, but then they were ambushed by the remaining pieces, among them the detestable fried chicken, according to her. It didn't take long when she was attacked off guard by the Nekomata twins at the same time, leaving her extremely wounded and eliminated in a few seconds. On the other hand, Kiba had to take care of the pawns sent to his master's base to prevent them from being promoted to queen. He managed to subdue them quickly and went to the next meeting point, reuniting with his cowhide, noticeably exhausted from their previous battle. Then they faced the rest of the pieces, having an arduous match against Carloman, Cirrus and Isabella. Knights and Rook respectively. Being on the verge of collapsing, the Gremory Knight felt a great amount of power flowing into him, so he did not think twice and released such energy, causing a wave of swords to emerge from the ground, piercing those around him, in this case, her 2 opponents plus the bishops who saw everything from a safe distance, and the 2 pawns who had defeated the white-haired girl. Although due to lack of energy she couldn't take it anymore and finally fell exhausted. The Gremory Queen was responsible for creating force fields in the traps so that whoever activated them would not escape, leaving the task of eliminating them in the hands of the young blonde. Finishing that task, she had to destroy the gym with her beam when she saw Kaneko leave there, completing it successfully. Now she should have a battle against Ubeluna, the bomb queen, because of the trap she left and that almost eliminated her fellow tower. Each one's spells were powerful, so much so that if one received the other's attack in its entirety, would be deleted instantly. Akeno thought she would win by seeing her enemy fall to the ground, but she didn't wait for her to pull out a phoenix tear, which would restore her magic completely, and since she was exhausted and without much power left, she knew she wouldn't last long before be defeated. Something that unfortunately came to pass. Asia being the newest, she stayed with Rias in the CIO for 2 reasons. Her healing factor and to provide support to her master with any intruders there may be. After learning from the RichTales that the others were in trouble, they designed a very risky plan. Infiltrate Razor's base to try to defeat him hand to hand. When they arrived at the main entrance, they discovered that the Air Phoenix was waiting for them, starting a fierce battle between both high-class demons. The fight reached the upper floor where they heard an announcement that mentioned the departure of several pieces, among them, that of a tower, then that of a knight, and finally the queen of the Gremory side. Rias, knowing that her servants were dejected, she threw the largest orb of power of destruction she could conjure at the blonde, being sure that not even his regeneration would save him. But unfortunately, someone else got in the way, being Queen Phoenix, who acted as a shield to protect her master, costing him his stay in the raiding game. The crimson-haired girl did not expect such an act, but she became enraged after seeing how Razor belittled the actions of her servant. For the former nun, this was terrifying in many ways, but her thoughts were interrupted by a great wave of heat that she suddenly felt, and after that everything went black for her. When she woke up, the game was already over. She was surrounded by the other members of the Gremory entourage and was resting on a bed. They explained to her what happened and she only covered her face with the sheets she had. Finally, Sona Citri offered to monitor the raiding game and see her skills as the leader of the Gremory heiress. She never imagined that she and her slaves would last so long against the Phoenix entourage. There were unusual moments and others that were not very honorable. She was also shocked after seeing what Razor did to obtain victory once and for all. But the only thing she felt truly sorry for was seeing Hyōdō Issei, the human she invited to watch the game, clench his fists until he was bleeding for what had just happened. I'm sure he didn't like it one bit watching his friends defeat. Basically, everyone felt helpless for not having been able to do more for Rias. Some even thought of doing the stupid thing of directly attacking the baked turkey, one of many nicknames given by the brown human, and running away with the RichTales. But they couldn't. Continued devising such things because flames emerged from the floor, revealing Razor Phoenix himself, who was wearing an extravagant white outfit with his chest exposed. Famous nobles of the underworld, the Phoenix clan feels honored with your visit tonight. The blonde began his speech under the gaze of everyone present, especially those who knew the reputation of the family. We invite you to share this historic moment in which I, Razor Phoenix, and the heiress of Clan Gremory, Rias Gremory, we will formally announce our engagement. Each guest paid full attention to her words. Those who know the bride best only gave her the coldest look. They could give no more to add. Let me introduce my empress, Rias Gremory. Then the woman of that name came out of a red magic circle, wearing a majestic white wedding dress, and even including a veil. Many would believe that she is happy to wear such a garment. The thing is that her expression said quite the opposite. It seemed that the blonde was going to continue talking, if it weren't for the fact that some strange noises were heard from the main entrance. Everyone turned in that direction, and suddenly the wooden doors were enveloped in a huge flame, leaving it completely black. Then he gave a powerful blow to the doors that caused them to fly away, leaving a trail of ash in their wake. No one understood what was happening until the smokescreen dissipated, revealing a mysterious hooded person, probably a man because of his complexion. He wore black and red clothes, but the most striking thing was the mask that covered his entire face. Noticing that every demon in the room had the attention, he just stood in his place without doing anything. Hey, how dare you come in like that? The first to come out of his trance was Razor, and he immediately demanded a response from the guy who was interrupting his wedding party. The boy, on the other hand, remained silent. Actually, I don't care to know who you are, but you interrupted my moment, so kill him. The warriors who were at the ceremony as bodyguards obeyed this order and ran towards the stranger with the intention of impaling him with their spears. But they never expected what they received. Boosted gear, the boy whispered in such a way that not even the demons with the most developed senses could hear him. He barely finished saying those 2 words, a scarlet gauntlet with an emerald green gem in the center and several golden spikes around it materialized on the stranger's left arm. Burst, and in a fraction of seconds it hit the floor of the room, releasing a large amount of aura that sent the guards flying several meters away from him, incapacitating them. Some of the nobles who were nearby took a few steps back from the wave of shock that was generated. When everything stabilized, each of the demons were stunned by what just happened. On the one hand, there were some who were terrified by the burst of energy they felt. It easily rivaled that of a Mao class being. For those with broader knowledge, they recognized the gauntlet in a short time. They don't understand how a simple engagement party caught the attention of someone so powerful. But the most surprised were the Citriaris, Grimory and their slaves, except for the bishop. This person had generated the same aura that was tormenting them for several weeks, until he simply disappeared after the massacre in the old church. They never imagined that they were trying to track a being with tremendous strength. Thank you for the warm welcome. Getting back up, the stranger shook off the remains of ash that fell on his shoulders. The distorted voice brought a few out of the frame. Is this the ceremony where the marriage between Rias will be officially announced? Grimory and Razor Phoenix. It is not of your interest, the Phoenix heir replied at the unexpected intrusion. Even though he was a little afraid with the mere presence of the guy standing there. I demand that you tell me why a shameless person like you is here. The little bird told me about this meeting and well. I wanted to come. Walking slowly forward, the boy looked around. Encountering looks of astonishment and hearing the occasional whisper from the guests. This guy gives me chills. What are you thinking when you come here? Rias don't know, Razor don't know, what does this mean? While some admitted their discomfort due to the energy that the stranger gave off, others asked the heirs of each clan for explanations. But in the middle of their discussion, someone made an appearance. The little show that I prepared, a red-haired young man accompanied by a maid, arrived just in time to calm the rest. Both being of great renown in the underworld. Finally appears, Mao Lucifer. Ani-sama. That's right, he had arrived on the scene, none other than Sekiryuutei's Lucifer, one of the four current mass, smiling quite calmly. Both the girl with crimson hair and the hooded man were happy in their own way that he was present. Except for one who was already having some ideas. Sekiryuutei-sama, what does he mean by spec? Razor-kun, it was very interesting to watch the rating game. Sekiryuutei raises his hand, interrupting the blonde phoenix, annoying him even more. But having my younger sister participate who had no experience and only half of her pieces, well. Do you have any complaints about the fight? Razor went on to a much more hostile tone because of what his future brother-in-law thought. I wish. Not at all. If I had them, the game would have no validity. The Redeed was not even fazed by the Phoenix heir's attempt to intimidate. He just closed his eyes, being totally sure of what he was going to say. However, there are special circumstances on this occasion. So I would like to make a formal interruption. Anyway, explain to me what that guy is doing in the first place, Razor declared, pointing to the unexpected guest, who was just standing with his arms crossed and everyone looking at him. Perhaps trying to find out at least something about his attitude from his body language. Did you plan for him to come and ruin everything? I wanted something interesting for my sister's engagement party. Sekiryuutei excused himself without taking his eyes off the stranger and then addressed him a few words. You, the boy over there. I would like to see for myself the power you harbor. The power of a celestial dragon. I am more than willing to accept his proposal, Lucifer, the masked man responds without changing his posture. Or his altered voice. The confrontation between possessors of legendary powers would make this entertaining, don't you think? The Redeed calmly mentions, turning to look at Razor again. I see. I didn't expect anything less from the current Lucifer. And I admit it's an interesting idea. The Phoenix heir's face is invaded by a Machiavellian smile upon hearing that, completely forgetting his initial fear of the stranger. Tell me. Sekiryuutei, the current Lucifer, refers to the hooded man through the title he has for his sacred gear. And confirming the suspicions of the rest of those present in the process, would you like to give me and the nobles a sample of your strength in a fight? As I already said. I have no problem, emphasizes the Red Emperor Dragon. No one could tell in which direction he was looking because of his mask, making it even more mysterious. You will be my last great flame and feat before I become a married man, Razor says without changing his superior expression. But before we continue, how about I give you a little head start? The hooded man added, as if he were addressing the highest authority present. I mean, Sekiryuutei, only if you agree. Keep going, all your nobility, including you. Against me. Now if each and every one of those present was left speechless by the daring offer of the mysterious Welsh dragon, generating different reactions. Some were very impressed, to the point of having a minimum amount of respect towards the stranger, like the most demons. Youths, others took that as a provocation, which was the case of almost the entire blonde's entourage. And the rest considered the hooded man an idiot, among them was Razor, who only laughed. Ha, do you call that an advantage? You just guaranteed my triumph over you, Razor began to mock at the sight of all the nobles who, one by one, came out of their initial stupor. Without a doubt he is very stupid. It is impossible for him to defeat all of Ani-sama's slaves by himself, added in a low voice, a blonde girl with her hair divided into two pigtails in a very unusual style. It is clear that she is equally or more conceited than her brother. We'll see about that, brat, the Sekiryuutei approached without paying attention to the indignant face that the youngest of the phoenixes made. She didn't like being referred to in that way. At the same time, he nodded subtly to Sekiryuutei, and as soon as he understood what he meant, he continued. Well, dragon boy, what do you want as a reward if you win? These words made the guests begin to murmur the typical things that those of the upper class say. They would have continued like that if it weren't for one who dared to question the RichTales. Sekiryuutei-sama, are you going to reward someone who is not even a demon? Demon or not, he started a challenge and he has to accept it. Besides, he surely has something in return if he is the loser now. Sekiryuutei looks at the boy again waiting for an answer. For him to just show his thumbs up was more than enough. Well, what do you want? Fame? Wealth? A beautiful woman? 2 things. If I win, the engagement between Gremory Phoenix will be cancelled immediately. The stranger's demands caught the crimson-haired girl and her close circle of friends off guard. This whole show is for her. Along with that, the Gremory heir will be exempt from any other marriage that arises in the future. And what will I get if you lose? This question was asked by Razor. He had planned to reject the bet if it didn't give something that had the same weight as cancelling a wedding at the last minute, but he never expected what came out of it. The young man's mouth. I will become your personal slave. You can force me to do anything and I will not resist. Those who knew the RichTales more intimately had no way to express their gratitude for the current Red Emperor Dragon. They hoped with all their being that Razor would agree to the deal and that the stranger would win. On Ria's side, if at first she was entranced by the fact that a Longinus wielder appeared out of nowhere just to undo their forced union, the surprise that he was risking even his own freedom in order to help her made her, he was on the verge of tears, but he knew how to hide it. If I win, I will not only have a beautiful woman as a wife, but a legendary dragon under my command. Rubbing his chin, the Phoenix heir closed his eyes to think carefully about his chances. Until another annoying laugh came out of him. His mouth haha. Okay, I accept the challenge. Okay, if there are no more complaints. Graphia. Yes, obeying the command of her master, the maid conjured a teleportation circle where Razor, his nobility and the Sekiryuutei were standing. See you on the battlefield, was the last thing the boy said before being absorbed by the spell. This fight will not only be the Red Emperor Dragon's opportunity to appear before the demons for the second time, it is also the first one he has had in a long time. But what he does not know is that all the hopes of many of them are placed on him. The people that is here. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.